Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are Ohio.
The Reds' 9-game road trip continues, but the weather follows them from Washington to the Big Apple, New York City. As Fox Sports Ohio brings you Cincinnati Reds baseball from Citi Field, it's the Reds against the Mets, the first of three. Hi, hello, and welcome to New York, everyone. Along with the crafty left-hander Chris Feldt, Jim Day, and our entire crew, I'm George Grant. Well, the one thing that the Reds have had of late is hot, humid weather. The other thing they've had in the last couple of starts from Homer Bailey, pretty good, much like we saw from Luis Castillo yesterday.
Well, you're right. Castillo had a great outing, but Homer Bailey's working on a couple of outings in a row now after coming back off the disabled list. We're missing almost 2 months with a knee injury. He's gotten his act together. His fastball has got some velocity to it, but more important than that, his control has been very good. That split finger fastball that he throws, especially left-handers, that has been the key to really keeping those lefties at bay.
He had the Reds' first complete game. It was a loss last time out. The Reds hope to get more of that coming up. The Mets team that he'll face this time around will be a little bit different, though. All the big names that you expected to see at the beginning of the season, they're long gone. But one big name that is still there is Noah Syndergaard, who will pitch tonight. The Mets, Chris, look a little different, don't they?
Well, they do, and they're really not sure what they're doing here in New York with this Mets ball club. There was rumors about that they were going to go ahead and trade everybody worthwhile on the roster, and then there was another rumors that they were going to keep everybody. This is a ball club, you know, that could use some rebuilding, but you're in New York, so you don't rebuild in New York, you reload, and that's why some of the fans right now are a little bit perturbed at the Mets management.
Well, would they trade Jacob deGrom? Would they trade Noah Syndergaard? They didn't at the trading deadline, so the Reds are going to face this guy tonight, Chris.
Wow, this guy might be the best, and I mean the best thrower in all of baseball. I mean, if you individually scout his pitches, his fastball, and his breaking ball, and his changeup, I mean, you're talking about 99 miles an hour, 93 miles an hour, and a 90-mile-an-hour changeup. Individually, those are some of the best pitches you're ever going to see, but he's yet to be able to put it together to the point where you can combine pitching and throwing and become as unhittable as he should be.
Well, the guy who's almost always unhittable for the Reds is Jim Day. JD is standing by. When we return, he'll give you a peek at the former Reds who are now in Mets unis. Bruce, Frazier, Mezzarocco coming up next.
lineup, only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. By Skyline Chili, feeling good, it's Skyline time. And by GMC. Video yesterday, the Reds from D.C. to New York took a train for the first time. What an experience. It was like going back in the day, and actually turned out to be a very peaceful ride. And much less hassles. We'll have more about that coming up in tonight's broadcast. We'll see some former Reds and Mets uniforms. Although one has been on the DL for a while, we won't see him. Jay Bruce being that guy. Todd Frazier, the former Red, here in New York again, although this time in a Met uniform. He's had an injury-plagued season. Not good numbers for any of these guys. And Devin Mesoraco was the guy traded straight up for Matt Harvey. And Matt Harvey, all eyes were on him today as he makes his return to Harlem here for the first time since being traded over from the Mets. And boy, was it a major media contingent as he met the New York and Cincinnati media today. And here's a piece of what he had to say.
I made a lot of mistakes, and that was, you know, something I've definitely looked back on, and you know, I wouldn't say regret. You know, people make mistakes, and I definitely made a lot of them, and you know, I think that's kind of goes with the emotions of coming back here. I do remember a lot of cheers, and I you know, obviously remember some boos. So it was a really fun time, and I absolutely loved being here and playing here, and like I said, I'm just happy I'm healthy.
It was very honest and revealing Matt Harvey today. We'll have more of that and talk more about it during tonight's game coverage as well. It's the Mets and Reds, first of three. The Reds trying to get past Noah Syndergaard. Struggles with the Big Apple. Well, they hope to turn that around. George and Chris are next.
The Reds, as the Reds will try to reverse what has been a very difficult time for them here in New York City. Our Elk and Elk storylines brought to you by Elk and Elk, serious lawyers for serious injuries. The last 8 seasons at Citi Field added up, the Reds won 11 of 13 from 2010 to 2013, but the Mets won 11 of 13 since that. That was from 2014 to 17. That second number is from 2014 to 2017. The Mets have won 11 of 13. Add it all up, and the Reds are trying to turn around what has been a very difficult trip to New York time and time again. Jim Riggleman, now 47-47 as the Reds interim manager, brings his ball club to New York City to face Thor and the Mets. Let's check the starting lineup that he'll pencil in tonight. Jose Peraza will be in the leadoff spot. Peraza up to 283. Joey Votto in the number 2 hole at 287. He's got an on-base streak against the Mets that's over 20. Scooter Gennett will hit in the number 3 spot. Eugenio Suarez, now the cleanup hitter, hits 4th. Mason Williams, who's had a great start as a Red after coming up from the minor leagues, is at 379 coming in. The switch hitting Tucker Barnhart behind him. Preston Tucker with his new look outfield getting a chance to hit. He's in at 246. Homer Bailey will hit in the 8th spot, and Billy Hamilton will bat in the number 9 position. That is your Cincinnati Reds batting order for Jim Riggleman. And Chris, this big guy, number 34, has been about as good as you could be against the league, and against the Reds he's been even better.
Well, he's been really good against the Reds, George. Before we get to Noah Syndergaard, I thought it was pretty cool that tonight here at Citi Field they had Ed Kranepool throw out the first pitch. Ed Kranepool, now 73 years old. He played 18 years, all of his major league career right here in New York, after growing up and being with the Bronx. And here he is throwing out the first pitch.
He's had some health problems of late, but still very active in the New York City area. And a guy, in fact, talking with him, Chris, the Mets, of course, mourning the loss of one of the greatest Mets that we knew, both on the field and off the field. And that is Rusty Staub, who passed away at the end of March at the age of 73. Rusty very much in Mets history, as Ed Kranepool was part of the original Mets. Of course, world championship in 1969 as they beat Davey Johnson and the Baltimore Orioles in that World Series. Now the numbers for number 34 are pretty impressive against the Reds.
Well, I mean, he's got overpowering stuff. He's got probably the fastest fastball consistently of any starter out there. It touches 100 miles an hour. It always hovers 98 to 100. He's got a very good slider at 93 miles an hour, and then a changeup. The question is, though, will he find the perimeter of the strike zone or throw it down the middle? He's had a very good run of it against the Reds in his career.
Overall this year he's 6-2 with an ERA of 2.98 as Peraza steps in. Jose with 6 homers and 38 knocked in. After an 0 for 17 funk, he's 5 of his last 14. This one sliced to the right side towards the seats. Making room is Brendan Nemo, and he'll haul it in. Nemo gets the first out of the first inning. Peraza's retired, and there's one away. The Reds have had some defensive lapses of late. So have the Mets. The Mets have played subpar defense all year. Michael Conforto's in left. Austin Jackson, just brought on this past month, is in center, and Nimmo is your right fielder. He's played some in center as well. So is Conforto. Todd Frazier back off the disabled list at third. The youngster Ahmed Rosario is your shortstop. Jeff McNeil has been great since coming up from AAA at second, and Wilmer Flores, who is your everyday different position player, is your first baseman. Flores enjoying starting, and Plawecki behind the plate. Here's Joey. Votto steps in at 287. Different lineup, Chris, than you expected to see when the season started for the Mets.
Well, even for the Mets, absolutely. I mean, you didn't know what was going on with them. But even with the Reds, George, you know, you see a lot of guys being moved around in different spots. They're still trying to figure out how to fill in for Jesse Winker and Scott Schebler. Two guys that, you know, once they have been injured and off the roster, the Reds have had a hard time finding a flow in their offense. And Jim Riggleman's tried to flip-flop the lineup a little bit. Today he's got Votto in the number 2 hole again.
3 balls, no strikes to Votto. This one slapped to the left side. Joey has had his troubles with this big right-hander. Votto in his career 0 for 11 against Syndergaard. Against the Mets, though, he's got a streak of 22 consecutive games reaching base either via a hit or a walk. 3 balls, 1 strike from the big right-hander. Here comes the delivery. Plawecki sets up, down and away. That's a dribbler. It's down the line into the corner. Votto will round first very slowly and hold air. It looks like he's okay. Boy, he was very slow getting out of the box.
I'm wondering, George, if maybe his leg is bothering him a little bit. You know, look at him wince as he runs down the line right there. He was hit in the leg the other night by Ryan Madson in that game against the Washington Nationals, and did not play yesterday except for a pinch hit. appearance and did not look like he's running very well right there.
See the expression on his face, the wincing halfway down that first base line. Here's Scooter in at 310, 1 for 5 in his career against Syndergaard. Take another look. Right about here, you see the wincing. He favors that leg again as he hits the bag and holds at first. Flores holding him on. The 1 ball delivery. That's a strike. Strike 1. Your home plate umpire is Kerwin Danley for tonight's game. Ben May is down at first. Lance Barksdale, your second base umpire, and Will Little is down at third. Kind of different stories coming out of Washington, Chris, after Harper was hit and Votto was hit. Votto took the high road, but I mean, pretty clearly he didn't play yesterday and did not look 100% going down the line today.
Well, there's definitely not 100% right there, but it doesn't mean the guy can't get in the batter's box and hit a little bit.
That's the first hit he's ever had against Syndergaard, now 1 for 12. One thing you do expect the Reds to do if they have the opportunity, and it's 1 ball and 2 strikes to Scooter, is to run against this combination. 17 of 19 have stolen successfully against Syndergaard, and Plawecki only throws out about 19%. More of it is on Syndergaard. Not in this situation with Votto down there, but if you get Peraza on or Hamilton on, you expect the Reds to do some running. When he's good on the mound, he's very, very good, but you can see by those stolen bases, he's always had trouble holding runners.
Well, you can see he doesn't really change his delivery a whole lot as far as the tempo of his lifting his leg up and getting it down and then towards home plate. Out of the full windup is basically the same tempo that he has when he pitches out of the stretch. So he could be one of those pitchers that simply subscribes to the notion, I don't really care what the guys do on the base paths. When they get on second base, that's when I really bear down a little bit.
Worked for Greg Maddux, huh?
For a long time.
There's a dribbler down to short. They'll get 1 at second, on to first. They'll call him out. Scooter looks at Freddie Benavidez saying, did I beat it? But there'll be no challenge, and the Reds waste a runner in the first. Take another look at first.
They're going to leave the Mets out on the field for that one.
At first there was no wave, and now there's a wave from the dugout. Kerwin Danley pointing to the Reds dugout. And the Mets will come back out. They will challenge. By the replay, looked as if he was safe. Scooter looked at Freddie Benavidez and acknowledged that. Freddie nodded his head and looked at the bench. There's the foot on the bag. And the ball not in the glove yet.
You know, they changed the interpretation of that rule. Had the ability to see it in super slow-mo when the ball goes in and touches the glove. It used to be when the ball was in the back of the webbing. That is when the ball should be known as being caught, and you contrast that with where the foot is on the bag. Now it's where it goes into the glove. So it could hit, and they're going to call him safe. So that didn't take long, and they get it right.
So the Reds inning will stay alive after the single by Votto and the force out. Scooter's on, and here comes Suarez. Chris, you and I have both been over to the umpiring brain center here in New York City. And it is pretty amazing what they do and how they do it. We are in Flushing here in New York, just outside of downtown New York City. The umpiring review crew is in downtown New York. And I know when you had the opportunity, and they've even refined it since you were there, it is pretty impressive to see exactly how they go through the review process at the headquarters.
Yeah, you know, George, the review process is kind of interesting, really, and it's amazing how fast the time goes when you're in the chair to make the decision. That's the big thing that I took away from that experience. But I mean, it is as high tech as you can possibly get anywhere.
No balls, 1 strike to Eugenio Suarez. Suarez numbers continue to jump off the charts. He's one of the few Reds who's been nails on this road trip. He's hit safely in all 6 games. in the Triple Crown categories, near the top in all three important offensive numbers for the year at 304, 26 homers, 85 knocked in. What a year he's had.
Oh, it's incredible, and he shows really no signs of slowing down. Nice and relaxed at the plate, as long as he gets that front foot down in time.
Swing and a miss. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
That's about as good a slider as you're going to see just about anywhere.
A lot of swings and misses when this guy's on the mound.
Well, when you face Syndergaard, everything is sped up a little bit. His velocity is faster than most other pitchers. His breaking pitch is faster than others. The changeup is faster.
Suarez in his career 4 for 12 against Syndergaard.
In fact, the changeup tonight that Noah Syndergaard will throw to the Reds is faster than the fastball that Matthew Boyd pitched against the Reds last time Homer Bailey pitched. And Boyd outpitched Bailey that night. Here's a breakdown of what he throws you right there. Average is 97, throws a little more than 50% fastballs. Likes a slider, likes a changeup, occasional curveball. Normally you don't see that until the second time through the lineup.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Did he go? Yes, he did, says the first base umpire, Ben May. So a strikeout for Syndergaard. Suarez retired. The Reds will strand a runner. Going to the bottom of 1. Ahmed Rosario will lead it off for the Mets. There's Ahmed Rosario, the young shortstop for the Mets, ready to lead it off. The starting lineup for this Mets club: Rosario, Jeff McNeil up from AAA, who's been red hot. Wilmer Flores will hit in the 3 spot, and Conforto, after the severe shoulder injury last year, is back and swinging the bat better. Former Red Todd Frazier off the DL, hits behind him. Brandon Nimmo, Austin Jackson, Plawecki, and Syndergaard. And for the Reds, his best game of the year by far, a complete game loss to Detroit, but boy, he was good. Here's Homer Bailey.
Yeah, and the previous game was pretty good too. That was against the St. Louis Cardinals at home at the very end of July. So, you know, Homer's on a little bit of a run right now. Took a couple of months off. He had some knee problems that he was down on the disabled list with. But during that time, I think he took the opportunity to work on his stuff. His command has been very good. He's not walked a lot of batters, and he has struck out plenty. And the other thing that you see about Bailey is that now he's really a full 4-pitch pitcher, maybe even 5 if you include both fastballs. But he now works in the curveball and the slider and the split finger pitch. Whereas in the past, Bailey would, like in one particular game, latch on to one of those breaking pitches and kind of go with it.
Dribble down to third. Count stays no balls and 2 strikes to Ahmed Rosario, the young shortstop, who's had a pretty good second half, and of late his average now back up to 233, 4 homers, 28 knocked in. He's walked a lot more, 19 walks in his last 29 games. That was after only 4 walks in the whole first half of the season. Just missing inside. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Barnhart sets up down and away. That's a dribbler wide to third and into left, a base hit. So Rosario reaches with a leadoff hit in the first. Let's check your forward defensive alignment for the Reds. Preston Tucker will be your left fielder. Billy Hamilton, Gold Glove caliber in center, and Mason Williams, outstanding defender, is over and right. Suarez at third, Jose Peraza the shortstop, Scooter and Votto on the right side of the infield, and Tucker Barnhart, who's thrown out 27% of those who have tried to steal, behind the plate.
And that may be significant here with Rosario at first base. Rosario is basically the Jose Peraza of the New York Mets. Young guy, good speed, didn't walk last year, walking a little bit more, kind of getting his way through the major leagues for the first full season. Only 22 years old, but he's had 10 bags stolen.
One of those was yesterday in a game it looked like the Mets had, similar fashion of the way the Reds have had difficulty in the last week. They had a 3-0 lead, wound up getting tied. Like Devin Mesoraco tied it in the 9th inning, and they lost it in the 10th for that man right there, Mickey Callaway, 43 years of age, his first year as a manager here. Votto can't get it. It's into right. Good speed on the bases. From first to third goes Rosario. And Jeff McNeil continues to do what he's been doing since coming up from AAA. A base hit. He comes in at 310.
A little bit of bad luck here to start the game for Bailey. Both of these hits basically ground balls that found the hole. With the first baseman holding, opens up a lot of space down there, and Votto's not able to get that grounder. So, you give up a couple of ground balls, and unlike what happened for Syndergaard, where he had a potential for a double play ball to end the inning, he's got first and third and nobody out now.
Mets will stay at double. The Reds will stay at double play depth as the Mets have runners at first and third. So they'll go for 2 on a ground ball and give up the run if they can get 2. Here's Flores at 272, 10 homers, 36 knocked in. Flores has started just about everywhere, and when Jay Bruce went down, he became more or less the incumbent first baseman. Jay still on the disabled list. Right hip difficulties, not back and ready to go as yet. Bruce playing right field and then some first base for the Mets before the injury. So it's given Flores a chance, and he can hit, Chris. Just the question was, where would they play him defensively? But Flores is a solid 270, 280 hitter.
Well, he came up as a second baseman. He can play middle infield. They've got him over at first base right now. He's turned 27 years old today. I'm always a little worried about those guys that play on their birthday.
Do you remember pitching on your birthday of April 14th?
I don't know about that, George, but I do know that I always wanted to know 2 things in the scouting report. Do they like the first pitch fastball? And is it their birthday?
Yeah. Back then, just about everybody liked the first pitch fastball, didn't they? That's bloop to the right side, foul. Boy, it's sure changed from those days when you first came up. The scouting reports were first pitch fastball, likes to go the other way, and a few other words. Now it's all computerized and very complicated.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure they're any better. Really, I mean, it's more specific about tendencies, and you have the numbers to back up what your eyeballs are telling you. But I mean, pitchers don't think along those scouting reports. It's too complicated for them. They're thinking about trying to get the ball where they want to. They're not thinking about, in this particular situation, this guy has trended in the month of July of looking for breaking pitches on 2-strike pitches. Same thing as it always been. When you go in, you go hard. When you go away, it's soft. When you go upstairs, it's hard. When you go downstairs, it's soft. Throw first pitch strikes, get a decision on a 2-2 count. and back up third when your outfielders are running to the wall.
2 balls, 2 strikes from the stretch is Bailey. That's line foul over the head of the third base coach, Glenn Sherlock, veteran third base coach, many years in the Arizona organization, and over at first is a guy who's done just about everything you could do in the game of baseball. Another look at a rocket shot over Glenn's head.
Yeah, maybe one of those that Bailey feels that he got away with right there. You hang that breaking ball a little bit far enough inside, they can't do anything with it.
Ruben Amaro Jr. is the coach down at first. Good block by Barnhart behind the plate. You know, you talk about scouting reports. I remember when I first started doing games, I did them with Tom Seaver, and I'd ask him, you know, how do you pitch Stargell? How do you pitch Schmidt? You know, hard in, soft away. Hard in, soft away. After a while, you got the message. It worked for him, didn't it?
And it still works.
Yeah. Rosario off third, McNeil off first. Still no one out here in the first. Long pause from Bailey. Runner going. Nubbed. And right where nobody was, it drops into right field. So 3 bleeders have given the Mets a run here in the first inning. Good pitch by Bailey. Jammed him, but he just had enough to muscle it into right. And it's 1-0 Mets.
Well, he's made some pretty good pitches. That was a slider that just kind of almost backed up for him right there. But it jammed him, but not enough to keep it into the infield. And Bailey, you know, he's out there talking right now with Tucker Barnhart, and the whole idea right here is, hey, you know, you can't throw the ball any better or any more on the corner than you already have. Things will turn around. You just got to keep doing what you're doing. Don't try to make the perfect pitch here, because when you do that is when you have a chance to hang them.
And here's Conforto, who's got 14 homers and 39 knocked in on the season. Conforto's had his own injury problems over the last couple of years. 2 years ago, it looked like he'd be a perennial all-star candidate. But after an ugly right shoulder dislocation, he underwent surgery and finally is back. And you saw by that swing, he said for the first time he feels nearly 100%. He probably won't feel 100% until next year when he gets
Probably
a full
right.
winter.
Well, you see the batting average, 232. His home batting average is 185. And as bad as Todd Frazier was here last year, this year it's Conforto's turn to be bad at Citi Field.
That's dribbled foul to the right side. No balls, 2 strikes.
So Bailey's thinking about right here, all right, you know, I got 2 strikes on this guy here. I really need a strikeout. And that way maybe I can get Todd Frazier, who's in the on-deck circle, a ground ball double play. I do that. I limit the damage to 1, no problem. But we're still a long way from doing that. 1 pitch at a time is what Bailey's thinking.
There's the former Red in the on-deck circle. Todd Frazier just off the disabled list himself. Still double play depth for the Reds. Foul back by Conforto. Conforto, since the All-Star break, in fact really since June, has hit over 300. He's hit 350 since the end of June and a little less than that since the All-Star break.
Well, he's going to be tested here on hitting a split finger because that fastball up and in was a setup pitch. They'll probably go down and away with something soft.
Good call, good pitch, good result. Conforto's retired. First out here of the first inning.
All right, the last 2 pitches are the really important thing because it's a sequence. Come as hard as you can up and in. Get the batter thinking about how that fastball's got some speed to it. Then you come the very next pitch down and away. You take off about 12 miles an hour on the velocity. You keep the arm speed going. You sell it as a fastball and you get a strikeout. Now a ground ball double play really saves the inning.
Andy Darwin looking on as Todd Frazier steps in. Frazier at 209. That's a bullet into right. Frazier will pick up his 33rd run batted in, and the Mets pick up their 2nd run of the night. They lead it 2-0.
I'm a little surprised, really, that they're going to give Todd Frazier a first pitch fastball right there in that situation. Now, Frazier likes to pull the ball, we know that, but you know he's looking heater on the very first pitch. And we've seen Frazier for so many years hit a ball hard on a fastball and flail at breaking balls. I think they probably eventually wanted to get to the breaking ball, but he didn't allow them to do that.
Take a look at that replay again, Chris. You say it sometimes your eyes tell you what your mind is thinking, and his eyes were ahead of that pitch. As soon as that pitch was delivered, he identified it as a fastball, and his eyes opened wide, and he was right on it as he drilled it into right. Here's Brandon Nimmo, 246, 14 homers, 32 knocked in. Last year had his best day of the season against the Reds, a 4-hit game. 1 for 5 in his career against Bailey. First and second, 1 away. Reds still double play depth, middle of the infield.
Boy, how hot and humid is it? Look at Homer Bailey's uniform. I mean, just, he's not even but 1 out into the bottom of the first inning, and he's already drenched through and through.
Temperatures in the 90s, humidity over 90 here in New York all day today, and they expect that for the next 2 days. Could be 2. Bobbled. They will get 1 at second, and that's all. Caught in between. Scooter between a backhand and trying to get in front of it. As he tried to get in front of it, his foot slipped out from under him. He kept it in front. They get the force at second, but it'll be first and third with 2 away.
Yeah, good news, bad news. Bad news, no double play. Good news, he was able to stay with that ball and keep on it. So you at least get 1 out right there.
Great reaction by Peraza too when the pitch from Scooter was high, and it looked like Scooter got the worst of that in his hand. Still stretching that right hand. Peraza had to barehand it for the force. So still from the stretch is Bailey. First and third, 2 away. And here's Austin Jackson off the glove of Suarez, and that's going to bring in another run. It exploded right in front of him, got past him into left. And here's the 3rd run of the inning. 3-0 Mets.
Looked like either a cutter or a slider right there. Ball had some action. It was moving away from him, and well, maybe it wasn't. I don't know. It didn't fool him, whatever it was. Now they're going to rule it a hit. You know, that's one of those plays that if the third baseman is in front of the ball, I know that was an absolute smoke job down there. He hit it so hard, but you play it off to the side, you're susceptible to a bad hop.
So Austin Jackson's base hit makes it 3-0, and here's the 8th batter of the inning, Kevin Plawecki, the catcher. Jackson, by the way, started this year in San Francisco. Mets didn't get him till last week, and since coming over to New York, he has been outstanding. You know that Juan Lagares is back on the disabled list, so they've had outfield problems just like the Reds. Nubbed out in front of the plate. Bailey has it. So 8 come to the plate. And really 1 ball hit hard in the whole inning. But the end result, 3 runs score for the Mets. We're going to the 2nd.
.337 start this season, over a .400 average, and his skipper says he's earned the playing time.
He's really done a nice job, you know, solid defender, can run the bases, getting some big hits for us. And you know, for the time being, he's pretty much definitely against right-handed pitching, our right fielder, and may get some at-bats against lefties also.
With Winker out for the season and Schebler not his return nowhere in sight, Mason Williams, as Jim Riggleman said, against a right-handed starting pitcher, he's going to be your guy. Normally a center fielder, but has done a nice job of the corner spots as well, even though he hasn't played there much.
Right on top of it, JD and Chris, you know, we always say it, this is a game of opportunities, and when they come, you got to take advantage of it. This guy always tabbed as a player that had major league tools, but it never came together fully. Always solid defensively, struggled at times offensively, and at times in the Yankee organization specifically had some attitude problems, was demoted and was chastised at times, but I think he's learned some lessons along the road. A rocket, that's a foul ball.
What you find out when you get demoted is that there are a lot of guys up here and everybody has talent. And the guys that stay up here and do well as major leaguers combine the talent with work ethic. And that's the only way you stay around. And I didn't know anything about that, so I can't speak to that for Mason Williams. But I do know that, you know, if you look at his big league resume, it's a cup of coffee each year for the last 3 years. So he has not done what it takes to stick with the Yankees. Now, that's a whole different deal there, because the Yankees are a different team where they're going to go out and get veteran players to fill those slots for the most part. And they've always seemed to have great players coming through their system that they've signed, especially in the international market. But he's shown that he can hit a little bit. I haven't seen anything that would indicate that he's got the bad attitude. Let's hope it stays that way.
Got the message and hopefully turned his career around. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Swing and a miss. This time he's retired.
When you see it at 90 miles an hour, that's a changeup. When you see it around 93, that's a slider. When you see it at 99, 100, I don't have to tell you what that is.
So 1 away, 1 retired, and here's Tucker Barnhart. In this Reds lineup today, only Suarez, who was 4 for 12 coming in, had any success against Syndergaard. We told you about Votto, 0 for 11, got his first hit against him. Tucker's 0 for 5 against Syndergaard, and you look at the record for Syndergaard, has not pitched often against the Reds. When he has, he's been outstanding. In his career, 3-0, 1.98 earned run average. His last outing against the Reds was almost 2 years ago in September, early September, at Great American Ballpark. He won a 6-3 game. Nasty.
I mean, just look at the effort, though, that Syndergaard puts into every pitch. He's had some arm issues. This year he's been on the disabled list twice, once with the hand, foot, and mouth disease where he picked up at a kids camp, and the other with a finger issue. But I've always thought a guy like Syndergaard, instead of throwing the ball as hard as you can, say 30 times a game, why not throw it as hard as you can, like 5 times a game, and then back off to about 90 to 95%, the way that Tom Seaver did. And all of a sudden, you know, you're having more efficient innings. You're throwing the ball where you want to. You still have your devastating breaking stuff.
2-2, broken bat, sliced out into left. Conforto there, he'll haul it in, 2 away.
I just always got the feeling from looking at afar, and I have not talked to Noah Syndergaard, and that his main goal was to become the most powerful pitcher in baseball, rather than the pitcher who's going to take you right through to the end of the World Series. Figure out a way to get guys out. Now, these are all hard throwers are on that list, obviously. Garrett Cole this year, for the first year, having a huge breakout year. Colton Avitz having a really fine year for Atlanta.
And speaking of opportunities, here's Preston Tucker getting a chance with those injuries that the Reds have had in their outfield to get some starts with the Reds on the season. 246, 4 homers, 23 knocked in. Homer Bailey on deck.
Just think about it for a second, George. You're a scout and you're having a tryout camp, and lo and behold, up shows up Noah Syndergaard and Max Scherzer. And they throw side by side. Now, most of the scouts, because they love the velocity, they're going to say, oh, we got to sign this kid Thor because he's throwing 100. He may even hit 101. The other guy's got pretty good breaking stuff, but he's got funny arm action. He works underneath the ball a little bit. You know, I would imagine that it wouldn't be 100% consensus that you would take Scherzer. But if you were going to start matching big league numbers now, there's no comparison.
There's still the eye test and the heart test that has a lot to do with it.
There's also a little column called pitchability.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the old-time scouts that had so much success looked at numbers, yes, but they also looked at the individual and where they came from. There's a rocket shot into center, a base hit. Second hit for the Reds, and Preston Tucker takes the measure of that 98-mile-an-hour fastball and drills it into center.
I'll tell you what, this guy is a hard hitter to throw a fastball by. He's got short arms. He's got a very quick approach to the plate. Look how quickly he gets his foot down. Small stride. I mean, he's ready to hit the fastball. I don't know how he's going to adjust to the off-speed stuff. Haven't seen him enough, but guy can hit a heater.
Kind of reminds you a little bit of Skip Schumacher, doesn't he? His approach and that quick swing, short swing. Here's Homer. 2 out, 1 on. Bailey 107 on the season. Among the Reds pitchers, the best in sacrifice bunts, 5 of them. He and Peraza, the only 2 that have successfully sacrificed all season long. Peraza leads the club with 7. Obviously no sacrifice here, but Bailey's gotten the job done when he's been called upon to do it. That's a dribbler to the right side, flagged down by McNeil, and he'll get the out. Jeff McNeil ends the inning. Reds strand their second runner. 3-0 they trail.
Station in the nation's capital, and the Reds went old school and took an Amtrak train from D.C. to New York City. And I got to tell you, it was took the hassles, a lot of the hassles out of it, and it was a pleasant ride, and most of the players enjoyed it.
I think that's kind of when baseball started in professional baseball. They rode the trade everywhere. They were like barnstormers is kind of what they called themselves. So in that sense, I really did enjoy it. It was kind of like the old school baseball feel.
I walk around me, look at the ocean, the river, everything. around the train. That's my first time doing. I'm so happy to do that. I think we got to do it more.
Now, I said most players enjoyed it. I only found one that didn't like it. He said he was nervous the whole time, and that was Billy Hamilton. And I asked him why, and he said, I watched too many episodes of Criminal Minds, and too many bad things happen on trains. So he was holding on for dear life. Classic Billy Hamilton, but we got here in one piece.
I guess you have to put Billy Hatcher on that list too. Hatch doesn't like anything like that, does he?
Yeah, as far as he was the only coach. He said the front car where the coaches were was a little rougher ride, although it couldn't have been that much rougher. But yeah, he was one of those guys as well that he would prefer flying, actually. But it was a pleasant ride.
No balls, 2 strikes to Syndergaard from Homer Bailey. And it's a swing and a miss, 1 out here in the second. JD, what were your feelings? How was the food? Did you enjoy it? I mean, that's top of your list. That's what you look for first.
I'm always stuck with that food gag, I know. No, the food was good. It's better than when we do bus rides when we have none. So that was good. And I got to tell you that ride to Dulles and the ride in from LaGuardia are just, I mean, there's no way around it. They're long and they're not pleasant rides, and this took that right out of the mix.
Well, Jim, I'm glad you really enjoyed the train ride. I did too. I was sitting right across from you, but I know that you've enjoyed it so much. I did a little research. In fact, I can get you a ticket tonight. When the Reds finish up their game here on Wednesday, there's a train leaving the following morning at 7 a.m. and it'll get you back into Cincinnati at 1:30 a.m. That is a easy 18-hour and 31-minute train ride. And hey, I'll even get you business class if you're ready to do that.
Well, Chris, I really appreciate you taking care of me as always like that. And George, let me tell you a little bit more about the guy sitting next to you. Yesterday on social media, he said, we're taking a train to New York City. Jim Day, be under it. On social
what's
media.
Better, the train or the bus?
Well, he's thrown me under both. So that's all right.
You survived every time, Jimbo.
2 balls, 1 strike to Ahmed Rosario, the leadoff hitter. That's in there for a strike, 2 and 2. You enjoyed it, huh, Chris?
I did. I mean, it was fun. It was a no-brainer. I mean, our travel is no-brainer anyway. A bus takes us to the airport on the tarmac, get on the plane, get off. There's a bus waiting for you. Next thing you know, you're at the hotel. So I have no complaints any of the way around.
2-2 from Bailey. A rocket picked off the shoe tops by Peraza, and there's 2 away. Boy, that was a slicing line drive that looked like would be waist high, but Peraza got the glove turn and just picked it off his ankle tops.
Well, Bailey is doing really all that he can do right now. You can't take the 3 runs back off the board. You can't take your pitches away that you used in the first inning, but you've got to bear down now and just see how long you can keep your team in this ball game.
Hop back and out of play. And talk about train trips. You remember Red Foley, the old writer from New York City, and he was the official scorer here at Shea Stadium and before Citi Field for many years. Red told the story his first year on the beat when everybody traveled by train, most everybody. That was when Babe Ruth was still playing, and all the writers are in the parlor car playing cards at 4:30 in the morning, and here comes Babe with a woman on one side and a woman on the other side, and Babe comes through and says, "Hi fellas, how we doing?" And they said, "Fine, Babe, how are you doing?" Babe got something to eat, went back to his car, and lo and behold, the lead writer said, "Gentlemen, that might have been a story if any of us saw it, but none of us saw it." Not this day and age, right?
What happens on the train stays on the train.
Not with social media. That would be everybody be falling over themselves to get a picture out. The old Red Foley, great writer and outstanding baseball man. Different world of baseball today. McNeil single to right his first time up. Homer trying to buckle it down here in the second after a 5-hit 3-run first inning. To Hopper down to short. Peraza quick flip. That's the kind of inning Homer wanted. A 1-2-3 for Bailey. Stats, roster updates, and a whole lot more. RBI Baseball 18 is available now. Learn more at rbigame.com. Rated E for everyone.
Well, the gentleman in the middle is looking at more than just a baseball game. Lou Filippelli is the father of one of our guys who works in the truck down there, Brian, who brought his dad out tonight, and he said, you know, my dad watches games. He's a former umpire. He umpired college games and other amateur games, and you know he criticizes and judges the umps. So the guys in black are under a little extra microscope here tonight.
Lou. Here's Billy Hamilton hitting in the 9th spot in at 225, 3 homers, 22 knocked in. Hamilton 1 for 6 in his career against Syndergaard. Did he go around? Yes, he did. Frazier in tied at 3rd for the first delivery.
That's a call right there, George, that I think that it really should be, there should be some kind of a redefinition in the rules, because there's no way that you can look at that swing and say that Billy Hamilton actually tried to hit the ball with that swing. He's trying to get out of the way of the ball, and his bat happened to come around. I mean, he started and then stopped, but I mean, now that I see it from that angle, I can see why he rung him up.
That call made down at 3rd from Will Little.
Good call, Will.
Grass cutter down to 2nd. McNeil has it, and there's one away. McNeil tearing it up down at AAA, and he's been doing the same thing since coming up. Solid defender, getting a chance. We talk about game of opportunity with all the injuries that the Mets have had. He's getting a chance up here at the major league level, and you know the story of the Mets, of course. Sandy Alderson, and we wish him only the best health-wise. He has taken a step back from his role as president and general manager. And John Ricco, J.P. Ricciardi, and Omar Minaya, the 3 of them, the assistant GMs, have taken over. There's no indication what will happen next year. Maybe one of them will be the GM. Maybe a new person will come in from outside. But in the meantime, it's a time of opportunity for some of these Mets youngsters and players that they've traded for.
You know, it's kind of interesting, really. You go back to 2012 and you start examining payrolls by major league ball clubs, and the Mets, even though they're right here in New York, they've got a huge television contract. They've got pretty consistent attendance. I mean, it's a big ballpark. It's nowhere near full tonight, but you know, they do get a big crowd here from time to time. And if they put a winner on the field, believe me, there are enough people in the city that'll come out. But they're spending money more like the Kansas City Royals than they are the New York Mets. So that's why, you know, there always seems to be, you know, the ugly little stepsister here in New York City. When the Yankees get the front page, the Mets get the back page.
I mean, in terms of dollars, their payroll on paper is $150 million, but in reality, it's $15 million less than that because they're paying David Wright, and David Wright hasn't played for 3 years. So, and they're getting insurance from that. So in actuality, you take $15 million off what they are listed as a payroll for a big market team.
Yeah,
below what you would expect. Here's Joey, who singled first time up. Two for two is Votto, a bullet into center field. Single to the left his first time up, single to center this time up. So a 2-out base hit, that'll bring up Scooter, a bounce into a fielder's choice.
Joey Votto must have seen the same stat sheet that you did, George, when he looked at that and said, I'm 0 for 11 off this guy. I'm going to change that. Had a little squibber down the left field line that went for a base hit in the first inning, and here a line drive right back through the box.
Scooter bounced one to short first time up. They got to force it second, but they beat the relay throw to first to prolong the inning in the first inning. 3 runs, 5 hits for the Mets. All 5 of those hits, all 3 of those runs in the first. And that hit by Votto, the 3rd for the Reds. Game 1 of 3 in New York City tomorrow. Sal Romano grew up just a couple hours from here in Connecticut. Will go against Jason Vargas. And then the Reds will get to see another one of the top pitchers in the league, Jacob deGrom, on Wednesday, an afternoon encounter. The decision the Mets had to make: do you trade Syndergaard, do you trade deGrom at the trading deadline, or do you keep him and hopefully try to rebuild for 2019? It seems hard to believe, Chris. Remember Harvey, Syndergaard, deGrom, Matz, Wheeler. There's Jake. 4 years ago, it looked like they'd have a starting rotation for the ages, and injuries have taken their toll.
Didn't that happen to the Fab 3 or the Fab 4 years ago? Reds ended up with Paul Wilson eventually as part of that.
Jason Isringhausen.
Jason Isringhausen. Yeah. And who was the 3rd?
Pulsiver, Bill Pulsiver.
Yeah. And then along came the Dark Knight. And we're talking about Matt Harvey and his return to the ball club. We did a big thing at the very beginning of the show about it, and also during the Reds Live today. His meet the press when he got here to Citi Field. But I mean, it was injuries that derailed him. It's the one wild card that you just never can be sure about.
Hope you had a chance to see the interview before the game. Of course, Jim Day reporting on it. And it was interesting to talk to Matt. I mean, I watched him from high school days through to college, and then he did change here. He did make some mistakes here, and he admitted to the New York media when he met with them before the game that he had made some mistakes. And I think his stay in Cincinnati has been a positive one. There's a bouncer foul down the third baseline off the bat of Suarez. Now, he was where Syndergaard is now. He was 98, 99, sometimes touching 100 with his fastball, but after 2 arm surgeries, still trying to find what he is as a pitcher again. Sometimes it takes a couple of years, huh?
Sometimes more.
No balls, 1 strike to Suarez, who struck out first time up. Tied him up inside at 97. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Mason Williams on deck for the Reds. Same spot. Suarez not liking the call. Down and in. Clips the inside corner. The Reds will strand a pair. They've stranded 4 through 3 and trail 3-0. Preston Tucker, plus more on the Reds train trip from D.C. to the Big Apple. Reds Weekly, presented by Miami Valley Gaming, with a new episode Wednesday at 6 on Fox Sports Ohio and streaming on Fox Sports Go. Another look at that pitch, Chris.
Suarez feels like he's gotten the short end of this twice now. He was called out on a check swing his first time up, and this one he thought was not a strike. I'm happy about that little changeup that Syndergaard throws right down there, or down and inside on him.
Here's Flores. Wilmer singled to right to knock in the Mets' first run in the first inning. Put all the guards you want on your foot, but guaranteed you're going to get hit where the guard isn't, right? Setting up inside. Barnhart, check swing, fouled off, 0-2.
Especially if that right-hander keeps throwing that two-seam fastball down and in on you, and you think you're on it, all of a sudden it starts to dip down and in more, and if you put the bat on it, you're going to hit it off your shin or your ankle or your foot.
No balls, 2 strikes. Flores in at 274 with 10 homers, 36. Make it 37 knocked in now. Against Homer, that base hit was his second. He's now 2 for 4 against Bailey in his career. And Flores a lot like Eugenio Suarez. In fact, he's one of, along with Peraza, the top 3 in Major League Baseball, the toughest to strike out. So even when you get to 0-2, tough to punch this guy out. He'll shorten his swing. And he gets one under the glove of Suarez there. They'll score that a base hit. So 2 base hits for Flores, 1 to right, 1 to left. And Suarez, who could have been charged with 2 errors, this one scored a base hit under his glove and into left.
Well, those are the kind of plays that you really wish that you could just see your third baseman get more often. The ball is hit very hard. Flores is a pull hitter, though, and in fact, I think 10 of his last 13 hits that he's gotten have been pull jobs. So if you're on the left side of the infield and Flores is in the batter's box, ball's coming to you more than likely. So that's 11 of 14 for him. And that gives you, so it's not only the scouting reports that the catcher and the pitcher have, it's what the infielders have.
Rocket into right, that's a base hit. So Conforto, after striking out his first time up, gets the second hit of the inning. So after giving up 5 hits in the first and a 1-2-3 second, the first 2 have reached here on base hits in the third against Bailey.
And both the base hits in this inning have come off that off-speed pitch, that split finger that he just tried to get Conforto to roll over on. He just kind of hung it up there a little bit.
Here's the former Red, Todd Frazier.
Got a first pitch fastball last time, hit it through the hole on the right side of the infield. I imagine they're going to drop a little breaking ball on him right here. And he's probably thinking the same thing.
Misses the outside corner for ball 1. Frazier now 33 runs knocked in and 10 homers. The average been hovering around 200 most of the year. A couple of stints on the disabled list, just back again. And coming up this month, the Mets will be involved, as the Pirates were last year, in the Little League World Series game down in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. And it'll be a reunion kind of game for Todd. You know the whole Little League World Series story of Frazier and his teammates.
Tom's River group.
Yep.
He pitched and hit his way, really carried that ball club to victory. He'll be the main man on campus during that whole
He'll love every minute of it too, won't he? 2 balls, no strikes.
I mean, and why not? Just think about the storybook career that he has had. I mean, you know, a kid that played in the Little League World Series, was the main man there. You know, comes up with the Reds, is an all-star, wins a home run derby in front of an ecstatic crowd at Great American Ballpark, plays for the Yankees near his hometown in New Jersey, plays for the Mets near his hometown in New Jersey, is signed here for another year, won't be a free agent until 2020, and an all-around good guy. I mean, wherever he goes, the fans just love him.
He gets it. Gets it in the clubhouse and among the fans. 3 balls, 1 strike to Frazier. His single in the first made it 2-0 Mets. 2 on, nobody out. Reds double play, depth middle of the infield. High in the air to center field. Going back, looking up is Hamilton at the warning track. He'll haul it in. Both runners tagging, and both will advance. Frazier gave it a big ride about 390 feet away and straightaway center field.
Frazier must have thought he was back at Great American Ballpark. You know, it says 408 on the center field fence out there, and I have no doubt that it's probably exactly at that, but it just plays bigger.
Well, they've altered the dimensions of this park from when they first built it 10 years ago. You can see by looking around the outfield as Brandon Nimmo steps to the plate with runners at second and third, and the Reds will bring the infield in with 1 out here in the third. They've kept center field right where it was, but they brought in both left field and right field. Fastball, top end of the strike zone for strike 1. Nimmo bounced into a fielder's choice first time up. I mean, other than Detroit, this was one of the toughest parks to hit home runs when it first opened. But after bringing in the fences and lowering them in both left and right, it's become a much more hitter-friendly park. Votto will run to first, and he'll go to the plate, and they'll get the runner. Votto was going to take the out at first, but as the ball was gathered in by the Reds first baseman at third, Flores hesitated and then came to the plate. A base running mistake by Flores. He didn't break right away, and Votto picks his pocket. Votto surprised.
Well, Votto was all set to go ahead and take that out at first base. Runner at third base, Flores goes, and he's thinking, all right, okay, Votto's committed himself, so I'm going to try to sneak in the back door here, and it did not work. Really, for the Mets, though, it doesn't really matter that much. You still have a runner at third base. The difference is here, you don't have that backup runner at second. So you make Votto make a play, throw on the run, so to say, and he was able to do that.
So the Reds get an out of it, and now Bailey can get out of this if he could find a way to get Jackson, who singled his first time up. Three to 2 is the put out. The runner safe at first. Jackson has been a whirlwind couple of months. He was originally signed by the Giants earlier this year. Went to camp with the Giants, started at the major league level, then traded to Texas in July, and then released by the Rangers about 10 days later. And then the Mets picked him up, put him in the outfield after they had their injury problems. Big swing, center field. Hamilton there, he'll squeeze it, and that'll do it. So the play by Votto saves a run. Reds still trail 3-0. Concert from the field this Saturday. Everyone with a ticket to the Reds game will have a chance to enjoy the show from one of country music's hottest acts. Purchase your tickets now at Reds.com. Well, it'll be great for this club to get back home to Great American Ballpark. 9-game road trip. The trip started in Detroit. And the Reds fans here in New York seeing the tail end of it. 2 games in Detroit, 4 in Washington, and then the 3 here in New York. Night game, and then a day game on Wednesday, off day Friday, and then the Arizona Diamondbacks come to town. And then the Indians will be in for a 3-game set. This one sliced into left center field. Over is Jackson, and he'll haul it in. Mason Williams tagged that one again, but Jackson holds it in, and there's one away to lead off the 4th inning. Hey, as you enjoy a Miller Lite, look forward to a Hold True moment later in tonight's game. Talk about Hold True moment. I guess, Chris, if you talk about pitchers, you say, you know, I mean, scouts will talk about hard contact and soft contact, and at either end of the spectrum for this guy, he's among the toughest. You know, tough to get hard contact at him, and he's got a lot of soft contact hits.
Well, when he'll get a lot of soft contact hits because he jams guys and they just fall in over the infielders' heads. But, you know, when he's on the corners, he's nearly unhittable. But if you look at one little statistic, and I don't want to go too sabermetric on you here, but if you look at batting average on balls in play, BABIP, and the major league average is somewhere around 295 to 300 in that range. But against Syndergaard, over all the years, for every one of his different pitches, it's well up into the 300s. It's 350 and so on. And you wonder, how the heck can you make solid contact off this guy? When balls are put in play, you know, why are they so often base hits? And if you start looking at his ink chart, you know, where he throws his pitches, he makes quite a few pitches basically down the middle because he's throwing very hard. Really, that's his main goal. And he's missing the edges and getting down the middle, and 97 and 98 is oftentimes hitting speed. I just think that you get a guy with his arm and his ability. I mean, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to pencil in 15 to 18 wins a year.
I think that goes back to Dan Worthen when he first came up in the trade from Toronto. He was traded in the R.A. Dickey trade, and Worthen said, "You got good enough stuff. Don't nibble," because you know he would walk some guys early on. So since then, he's thrown to the middle of the plate. Yes, but at his velocity and at his movement, still successful.
Now, when you're throwing 99, I'm not sure how much time it has for movement. Although that one moved pretty good. That's a slider.
Here's Tucker, solid single to center, his first time up.
I mean, when you're 6'6" and you average almost 100 miles an hour on a fastball, and everybody fears you, sometimes you want to, you know, fulfill that part of it, when really the only thing that matters is what the score is at the end of the ball game. But he's throwing a pretty good game here tonight. The Reds have not done a whole lot.
2 balls, 1 strike to the Reds outfielder Preston Tucker. Off the end of the bat, blooped into right. Coming in, Nimmo will haul it in, and it's a 1-2-3 inning. 8-pitch inning. Mets still lead 3-0.
whatnot. I really don't know, but you know, I do want everybody to know I do regret a lot of mistakes I made, and but I did put my heart into this organization.
And here was the tribute video that they played right before the game. When they introduced it, there was a mixture of boos and cheers, but after this video, the cheers drowned out the boos, no doubt about that. And Matt Harvey, they put him on the big board, acknowledged the fans, and he was a very revealing media session before the game. He was a young guy, admitted he made a lot of mistakes here that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, and he was also saying that he's thankful for the Reds organization giving him a chance to turn it all around.
JD, it's great to watch his time with the Reds after watching him throughout his career as a teenager in high school, then on to college. And I know you've seen a maturity level that I don't know many people in the Reds organization expected that's evolved over the last couple of months.
Well, I get a lot of questions from opposing media and a lot of questions from the writers, etc. today when we got here of how Matt Harvey has been, because it was a tumultuous stay here, particularly at the end of his Mets career, and I have seen no hint whatsoever of what they're talking about. He has been a A-class citizen. He's been no problem whatsoever in the clubhouse. He's been good with the young pitchers. I've literally seen no examples of what they were talking about, so unless it's something that's hidden from us, he has been, you know, better than the doctor ordered.
Yeah, and I know in talking with people who were close to him in his hometown, here's a 1-ball, 1-strike count to Kevin Plawecki. This one hit high in the air to left. Going back is Tucker at the warning track, looking up. That's gone. Off the facade of the second deck. Kevin Plawecki will get his 3rd homer. And the lead now 4-0 for the Mets.
Boy, a no-doubter. I mean, that is a breaking ball at 80 miles an hour that's just beeping, hit me. Those are the kind that as soon as it leaves your hand, you want to reach out and grab it. Come back here, because you know it's a problem.
Four runs, 8 hits for the Mets. This one sliced the other way and out of play by Syndergaard.
You know, if you look at the numbers that Matt Harvey posted in his first, say, 3 years here, I mean, no wonder that there's so much potential. I mean, you know, we're looking at a guy tonight, Noah Syndergaard, with the same type of potential. Matt Harvey was throwing in the upper 90s. I mean, just blowing people away. You know, averaging way more than a strikeout an inning right from the very first time he towed the rubber as a Met. He was a first-round draft pick. He was the first player taken, or the 7th player taken in the first round that year. So you wonder, well, man, if he was so good, who was before him? Well, that was the year that in 2010 when Matt Harvey was drafted that Bryce Harper went number 1, Jameson Taillon went number 2, Manny Machado went number 3. You know, Harvey ended up number 7. Delino DeShields was there. And Yasmani Grandal was still there for the Reds when they picked 12th, and Chris Sale was at 13th by the White Sox. Pretty good draft.
Danny Darwin making a trip out to the mound to talk to his big, tall right-hander. No activity in the Reds bullpen as yet, although there is some stretching going on. Wandy Peralta is starting to loosen, and now he's starting to toss. You know, and Chris, interesting because I talked to someone from the Mets organization who came down specifically, who had been with Harvey in the minor leagues, and looked for him, came down to say hello to him, and he was walking out of the Reds clubhouse. I was walking with him. He said, you know, that's the happiest I've seen Matt Harvey in a long time. And I think that's what we've seen in the Reds clubhouse. He's happy to.
He didn't have to see half the faces he saw in that dugout for a long time. That's why.
Yeah.
I mean, if every time you're going out to dinner or you're going out to a club or getting out of your car, you see somebody kind of paparazziing you.
Yep.
I mean, that's got to get to you a little bit.
Not an easy place to start your career. Here's Rosario, the leadoff hitter, a homer and a single, as Syndergaard, after striking out the first time, bangs a single into center field.
Thanks for allowing me to use paparazzi as a verb.
I remember him. Didn't you go to school with him at St. X?
Yeah, his dad owned a pizza place.
That's right. I think one of my relatives. Can they turn two here? They'll get one at second, on to first, not in time. The speedy Rosario will beat the throw to first. So we'll see if Rosario will be off and running with one out here in the fourth. Not much of a chance to turn two there with Rosario at the plate. Jeff McNeil singled his first time up, grounded to short his second time up. Big lead for Rosario, and they'll chase him back to the bag. Bluff's going down to first and past Votto into right. That's a base hit. Rosario will scoot around second, head to third, and it's first and third again. So for the second time with Rosario on first, McNeil gets a base hit. Happened in the first inning to put runners at first and third. Same story here.
His secret to hitting 300 is simply have a runner at first base every time he comes to the plate. Second identical spot right there. That time Votto doesn't bother to dive for it. He couldn't have got it anyway, but a ball that if you hit that anywhere close to an infielder's got a chance for a double play ball. Living right.
Hit in 6 of his 9 games as a major leaguer since coming up from AAA, where he was red hot. First and third, one out, and here's Flores. Single to right, single to left, and a run batted in so far tonight. Peralta is loose and ready, sitting there talking to bullpen coach Teddy Power. Rosario down at third, McNeil down at first.
Now this would be a very disappointing outing if Riggleman has to go get Bailey in the 4th inning. I mean, if he starts looking at what his ball club has done on this trip and the starting pitching that has been there, and they haven't scored any runs for him, and then the games in which the starting pitching hasn't been there, I mean, you don't want to let this thing start getting away from you here. And that's why what Bailey is going to give you between here and the end of the year is so very important.
Yeah, the one thing to get back to Matt Harvey again, Chris, talking to Jim Riggleman and also to Dick Williams. The one thing that they've been impressed by Harvey since he came over is helping some of these young pitchers understand what you have to do between starts, talking about it, what they do. I mean, your pitching coach, Danny Darwin, your bullpen coach help you in many ways, but sitting, as you saw Romano sit next to Harvey before, how do you prepare between these starts? And the value of a teammate telling you that is even more valuable sometimes than a coach telling you that.
I agree with that, and to a certain extent I think there's something valuable about that. Take for instance what the Reds did last year by traveling Bronson Arroyo with the ball club the entire year, with the idea that he would, you know, kind of mentor these guys from a, you know, a fellow player standpoint who's been around a little bit. Harvey's got a lot to offer, but at some point these guys have to step up individually. And, you know, you can only surround them with so many mentors and so many coaches before they start separating themselves from, you know, guys that can be up here and guys that aren't going to be up here.
2 balls, 2 strikes, runner not going.
I mean, the best case scenario for Matt Harvey was that he, you know, right now he's 5-5 with the Reds. His earned run average is 4.8. So, you know, the best case scenario is that he puts on a little bit of a run here and he really starts getting it together, and the Reds can flip him and trade him for something. If that doesn't happen, he becomes a free agent. You basically, you know, got a 500 pitcher in the meantime to help you.
That'll be a bullet into left, a base hit by Flores, his 3rd of the game. He's 3 for 3, his 2nd run batted in, and the Mets now lead it 5-0. And here comes Riggleman. That'll be it for Homer Bailey. Peralta is loosed and ready in the bullpen. Homer Bailey's night is done. He'll exit in a 5-0 deficit. Time for our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. It's early in this one, allowing 11 hits, 5 runs, and the runners on his responsibility. And Wandy Peralta will take over, Chris.
Now the left-hander back up from the minor leagues. He's pitched a few times. A little different deal now for Wandy Peralta. You know, early in the year and last year, based on what he did in 2017, he was a late inning, high leverage left-hander who would come in and basically with his 3-pitch mix could get lefties and righties out. But the strikeouts and the walks have been just very close together right there, and that's the reason why he has struggled so much. And not necessarily struggled with his own runs, but I mean struggled with other pitchers' runs as well. And 2 of those are on the base right now. That's the unfinished line on Homer.
Runners at first and second, his responsibility. Here's Conforto. So it's lefty against lefty. Michael struck out and then singled to right in the 3rd, 1 for 2. There are very few positive things that happened in the Reds bullpen last year. This guy was one of them. But those innings piled up by the end of the year. The appearances piled up. And the crispness that he had last year has eluded him at times. He gets behind batters early. There's a dribbler foul. No balls, 2 strikes.
Well, I think you hit it right on the head, George. He simply was worn out last year. He'd never had a season where he was called on to do so much over such a long period of time, and that can get, you know, that can get to you both physically and mentally. This year, though, his problem was really with the control. He lands with a very stiff front side and sometimes throws him out of whack.
Votto will get one at second, on to first, not in time. Second out of the inning on the 3-6 fielder's choice. And there'll be a runner at third, so it's first and third with 2 outs. And here's Frazier, 1 for 2, a single that knocked in a run. You could hear it in the background. Still Frank Sinatra music being played when Todd Frazier comes up as his walk-up music. Made that a familiar sound at Great American Ballpark during his tenure there, and provided Reds fans with one of the greatest moments and nights in Great American Ballpark history with his All-Star Game Home Run Derby victory. You were there that night, Chris. I mean, the Bruce home run, you make a list of the top moments. That was one of them in the new ballpark.
Well, that was, a lot of people will tell you who were there, George. That it was maybe the loudest or among the loudest nights they'd ever heard at Great American Ballpark.
Broken bat. Sounded like broken. Is it okay? It looks like the lumber's okay.
Yeah, there were a lot of scouts when they first saw Todd Frazier come out of Rutgers and then play in the minor leagues saying, this guy will never hit in the major leagues. He bars his front arm, and if you watch him, his left arm, when he starts to swing, he'll basically straighten his left arm completely out. And hitting coach after hitting coach went there and say, hey, you're never going to hit like this. And he knows he's done that. We've done many tech talks with him over the years, and I thought it was always very interesting how he described it and what he had to do to overcome that particular mechanical flaw. He didn't see it as a flaw. He just saw it as the way that Todd Frazier does things.
What he has, though, are the strongest hands this side of Paul Bunyan, huh? He can make up for a bad swing with those hands and send the ball a long way. We've seen him hit one-handed home runs on numerous times.
I mean, like a bricklayer.
No balls, 2 strikes. A moment that Reds fans will never forget, with his brother throwing BP to him. He came back, and that was a legitimate comeback. This year, I think it might have been a little different. I'm not sure that they had enough time between each of those pitches for Bryce Harper. But on this night, everything was by the book. Sky high fly ball into left center. Who'll take charge? Billy will. He'll squeeze it. Frazier retired. But the Mets pick up 2 more, and they lead at 5-0. Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio is being brought to you by your local Ford dealer, Ford Go Further, and by Cincinnati Children's, now ranked #2 in the nation by United States News and World Report. The Big Apple, New York City, the final stop of the 3-city road trip for the Reds. Started in Detroit, on to Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, and here to the Big Apple. Hot, humid night, a little bit of a breeze cooling things off a bit, but if you want it, you got it right here. Redzilla.
I didn't know they had Redzilla t-shirts out. I've got to get one of those.
Well, JD rode the truck. We can get you down there to do it one night too. Here's Michael Lorenzen pinch hitting in the pitcher spot, so Peralta will only go the final 2 outs of the 4th inning. Lorenzen's been outstanding as a pinch hitter for the Reds. Big swing, and it's no balls and 2 strikes.
He's been so good, they're throwing him sliders.
And maybe a changeup thrown in here there too. The Reds 3 hits and no runs off Syndergaard through 4. Leadoff batter here in the 5th. Nasty dropped off the table. Strikeout number 4 for Syndergaard. 1 away, and here comes Billy Hamilton. What do you do if you're the Mets, Chris? They went to the trading deadline. There was a lot of rumors that DeGrom would be traded, and his agent came out and said either trade us or sign us to an extension. They didn't do either. There were rumors, of course, Syndergaard was on the disabled list with that hand, foot, and mouth disorder. But there were rumors that he might be traded too. They kept their cards close to their body, didn't trade either one of them. And that still gives you a pretty good rotation to start 2019 with. Wheeler's come back and looked great in the last month. Billy sends this one to left center. Over is Jackson. Jackson always smooth defensively. Glides over, hauls that in, and there's 2 away. And now a quick message from Miami Valley Gaming.
Get ready to get lucky.
Well, that's the $64 question here in New York, George. What do you do? I mean, is this ball club? And I think what the Mets people have to do is very similar to what the Reds have to do. They've got to take a hard look at their organization and say, all right, where are we really right now? Who do we have that can play in the major leagues on a big league team? Who do we have that can play on a winning big league team? And make sure you make those tough decisions. And what do we need to fill in? In the case of the Mets, they've got a pretty good start with their rotation, as you said. But, you know, what do they have left in position players? I don't know what their farm system looks like. So are they rebuilding for perhaps sign some free agents in the offseason and come back in 2019? Or is 2020 or 21 a better window for them? If it's 2021, tell Mickey Callaway, hey, hold on here. We're going to develop for a while. Meanwhile, we're going to start trading some of these guys that have a lot of value. Because if you put, you know, it's too late now, but if you put DeGrom and Syndergaard and guys like that on the market before the trade deadline, you would be getting some serious talent in return.
Well, he's got serious stuff tonight, and he leads it 5-0. at the ballpark. Enjoy dinner and drinks. Meet Reds coaches. Take swings in the batting cage just like Joey Votto does. And geared up behind home plate like Tucker does, and a whole lot more. Plus, this year, you'll get an exclusive Reds tote bag and infinity scarf. Sign up today at reds.com/baseball101. 5 runs, 11 hits, no errors for the Mets, and no runs, 3 hits, no errors for the Reds. Gary Maya will take over, the third pitcher for the Reds. Homer Bailey went 3 1/3, 11 hits, all 5 runs. Victimized in the first, didn't really had one hard hit ball as the Mets scored 3. Gave up a home run to Plawecki in the 4th, and 2 more, and there's your 5-0 count. And here's Kahuri back, Chris, for a repeat performance, and hoping this time he'll stick.
Well, he was in 2 games last year, Maya was, and this is his second outing this year. His first one was very good. You saw the line we showed you. That was against the Washington Nationals just a few days ago. He even had an at-bat against Max Scherzer.
Good luck. Backhand by Scooter. Quick flip to first, and Brandon Nimmo's retired for the 3rd time. Nice play by Scooter Gennett.
In fact, I think he had 2 at-bats. A nice play by Scooter as he gets down, plants that right foot so he can put something on the throw here. I asked Maya, the next day, I said, how was that? I said, I thought you were going to get a base hit off of Scherzer. I said, how was it? He said, oh, that guy's good.
Bulletin.
Yeah.
He
What
was
a very likable young man he is. I'll tell you what, really good kid. You may forget the Reds got him along with Adam Duvall in the deal with the San Francisco Giants for Mike Leake.
Remember when we made the deal, 2 things. First of all, Hensley Mullins said, you're going to love Adam Duvall. He's a great teammate and he plays the game the right way. And a guy you were very close to, Joe LaFay, who was his hitting coach. There's a shot over the leaping effort by Scooter, and that's a base hit for Austin Jackson. 2 hits for Jackson, 2 for 3. And Dave Righetti said, we don't know what we have in Maya, but everything that I've seen I like. We don't know how long it's going to take him to grow up, and it's taken a couple of years, but the Reds hopeful that he can cash in at the major league level this year.
Well, he certainly has a good personality, and from what I've observed, he just seems like the kind of young man that will listen and is coachable and is just happy as can be to be here at the big league level.
1 out, 1 on, and here's Plawecki, who homered off Bailey to make it 4-0 last inning. He led off the inning with a homer. I wasn't with you in Washington, Chris, but the more you see Max Scherzer, and we were lucky for a period of time where we missed him a couple of times and we missed Strasburg, but he just gets better and better, and he drives himself, and it seems like he drives his teammates too.
You know, George, I've come to the conclusion I just think he's lucky. I mean, every time he pitches, the other team doesn't score.
Smothered by Scooter, on to first. Good play both ends of it. Good job, Scooter Gennett. No luck here. A good play there. Mo Egger from 700 WLW. Be part of the Reds fan cam. It's a chance to answer Reds trivia, win prizes, be part of Reds Live. Fan cam begins at 6. That's this Friday at the Holy Grail. Be great to be back home, and Mo will be holding court at the Holy Grail at the Banks. Always a fun place to be before and after any ball game, and Mo will keep you entertained. Reds fans in and around the area, and before the game around the Reds dugout, a whole bunch of Reds fans, and some of them making their trek in from Ohio. Others here date back to the days of Buddy Harrelson and Pete Rose and the scuffle in '73.
Boy, that was a great moment for Reds fans.
That was pretty good.
That's the one time when Cincinnati defeated New York.
Amen. Can still see the dust flying. Brand new ballpark now. 10th year of Citi Field, and the good news is it's a improvement over Old Shea Stadium. The bad news is Mets have only had 2 winning seasons in the 10 years they've been here. Hey, Chris, you remember when you played, you came here, and the thing you always remembered more than anything else is Votto steps in. 2 for 2 is Joey. Dribbled and fouled at the plate. Were the planes over the ballpark? I mean, sometimes you couldn't hear yourself.
Well, they used to call those planes, George, taking off from LaGuardia, which seems like it's just out in the parking lot here out behind the left field fence. They used to call them whisper jets. Remember that?
Yes. Some whisper.
I remember the Jets, and I remember Dave Kingman hitting a ball off of me that went off one of their tail wings.
I remember in the old days, and this is a true story, Whitey Herzog believed that Davy Johnson, when the Jets, and the flight plan was different then, there were more planes over the ballpark. They've changed it. And the Cardinals believed that every time a plane came over the ballpark and there was a runner on second, that's when they'd pull the pick off, because you could never hear the third base coach yelling, "Get back." That was Davy Johnson. Probably right. They were probably right. You could yell as loud as you want. You couldn't hear it over the planes. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Joey. Single to left, single to center. They play him straight away. Didn't get a piece of this one. Let's get an update from Jeff Picoro back in the studios. Pick. Thanks, Pick. Jeff Picoro, Brian Giesenslaw will wrap up what we hope is a rebounding, rallying scoreboard for the Reds, who trail 5-0 with Reds Live postgame. Of course, the Indians come to town next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. 3 night games at Great American Ballpark for Tito Francona. There's a rocket shot past the pitcher into center, a base hit. So Scooter's 1 for 2 and a walk. So for the Reds, single in the first by Votto, single in the third by Votto, a base hit by Preston Tucker in the second, and this base hit by Scooter, only the 4th hit for Cincinnati.
You know, Scooter is another one of those players, George, with really strong hands. I mean, he's not a big guy as far as height and weight and so on, but he's got strong forearms, strong hands, and I've always looked at him, and it seems like he's swinging a bat that's too big for him, but he's able to get the barrel on it so much. Here's another guy that barrels it up as well as anybody around. He feels like he's drawn the short straw in each of his first 2 at bats. A check swing, strike 3, and a pitch that he thought was ball out of the zone went for strike 3.
Now, the difference that we see in Eugenio Suarez, Chris, when we first saw him and he first came up, he'd have a bad at bat and maybe 2, and the rest of his game would go south.
Yeah.
Now he's found a way to turn the page, check out, and come back. He might go 0 for 2 and then 2 for 2 in his final 2 at bats.
I think part of that too was the fact that when he was playing shortstop, he had a lot of errors. And I don't know whether it was the bad batting that was affecting the fielding or the fielding affecting the batting, but it didn't help at all that he'd make an error in the field. Next thing you know, he's trying to hit a 3-run home run, you know, on every pitch that he sees. He has really kind of figured it out.
First time he's been ahead in the count against Syndergaard, 2-1. Oh, nasty.
Well, don't you love his approach, though? Talking about Suarez here. I mean, he stands in the batter's box with that bat kind of resting on his shoulder, perfectly straight. He looks like a guy I saw at the subway station waiting for a subway not due for another 10 minutes. Just nice and relaxed. There we go. It'll be here a little while.
Down to third, tricky hop. Frazier has it. They'll get one, but good job of McNeil to get out of the way of the sliding Scooter. Good job by Scooter to make sure there was no throw to first.
McNeil made an acrobatic play just to put a glove on this ball. It was just one of those sidearm throws that really tailed in towards first base.
I don't know how he got out of the way. Watch this. Good job by McNeil. Good job by Scooter. Right place, right time. Again, Chris, you talk about playing the game the right way. Scooter, right place to try to break up that double play.
If you're a middle infielder, you want your feet to be in the air if you do make contact with the runner. You don't want one of them planted in the dirt, and that's when you end up injuring your leg.
So 2 outs, runner on first, and here's Mason Williams, struck out, lined out 0 for 2. Add him up, 85 pitches for Noah Syndergaard, manageable through most of this day. And on the night thus far, 6 strikeouts here in the 6th inning.
I'll tell you, he's made a lot of use of that changeup tonight. I haven't gone and checked yet what his overall usage is of each pitch, but that changeup seems to be his favorite off-speed pitch tonight. It is normally to left-handers anyway, but he's throwing it effectively to right-handers as well.
Off the end of the bat, sliced into center. Jackson there and will haul it in. Williams, good wood on it. Nothing to show for it. He's 0 for 3, and the Reds trail it 5-0.
1999. The great Tony Gwynn hit number 3,000. It came in Montreal and is the only player to accomplish number 3,000 outside of the United States. The National Baseball Hall of Famer ended up with 3,141 hits. And an interesting sidebar, he got hit number 2,000 and 3,000 on the same date, August 6th, 6 years apart. It was also his mother's birthday.
Right, JD, and I think all of us would agree in our careers, there was nobody that you enjoyed talking to more than Tony Gwynn. Just the electric nature of his personality. What a special guy, huh, Chris?
No doubt about it. I mean, I remember he was with the Padres when I broke in, and when he broke in, boy, did he hit. He told me one day that he seriously believed that he could will a pitcher to throw him a pitch in a certain spot.
I believe that.
Yeah, he believed it, so that was half the battle right there.
Maya to Syndergaard. Syndergaard singled his last time up. Always a joy to go to San Diego or wherever, and he'd be out there before anybody. And really, I don't think there's any doubt that he ushered in the video era for hitters and then pitchers to use video to perfect their craft. I mean, he did it before anybody did it. He and his wife Alicia had their own VCR set up. Swing and a miss. Syndergaard's retired. That's strikeout number 1 for Kaori Maya. You know, and the other part of it, that had a direct effect on the Reds, because Greg Vaughn used video when he went to San Diego, and then after that 98 year, I mean, they're celebrating the Padres' great 98 year. Then the next year he came to the Reds, and he walked into the Reds clubhouse and says, "Where's all your video stuff?" And back then the Reds were still using film, and he said, that doesn't work." And it was Greg Vaughn who paid for a video setup, and before we got halfway into the season, everybody in the clubhouse was using the video setup that Greg Vaughn had paid for.
Yeah, I think he also wondered, where's all the leadership around here?
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of filled out that little group that kind of helped that ball club really go forward. Lenny Harris and Barry and Vaughn. Takes more than one.
It was Barry Larkin's ball club, no doubt about it, the future Hall of Famer. And when Vaughn came to town, he said to Barry, "What do you want me to do? I mean, it's your club." And Barry Larkin told him, he says, "You do whatever you want to do." And Vaughn would get on people, and he had an edge to him, and that made that club better. It was a great blend of young players, their first taste of the major leagues. You know, the Dimitri Youngs, the Sean Caseys, the Pokyreses, and the veteran players too. What a great combination. Swing and a miss. Back to back. Rosario retired. He's now 1 for 4. 2 strikeouts for Maya, and here comes Jeff McNeil, who's 2 for 3. I mean, championship years, when you make it to the postseason, are great. And Chris, the years we've been together, they've been special. But that 99 year was as enjoyable as any year I've ever been around any ball club. They enjoyed each other. There was leadership among the veterans, and some of the veterans got energy from the young players. Whoa, this one drilled down the right field line. If it's fair, it's gone. Curving, it is gone. The new matinee idol for the Mets, Jeff McNeil. His 3rd hit of the day, his 2nd hit since coming up in the last 2 weeks. And this gives the Mets a 6-0 lead.
Well, he's 26 years old, McNeil is. He gets a changeup right there, and he just drops the hammer. This ball is out of here by a long, long way. You know, he never really showed much power in the minor leagues until this year. He had 19 home runs down in the minor leagues this year between AA and AAA. And his time has come here in New York. He's going to get a lot of playing time. They're going to try to figure out whether he can be their second baseman of the present and future.
They've been looking for one since they let Murphy get away. Here's Flores, 3 hits, 3 singles, and 2 runs batted in. And among those players who were rumored as possible deals in the month of July, put this guy on the list. Wilmer Flores would be a good addition to a club as a all-around bench player. Take a look at our StatCast, A1 powered by AWS, of this home run from Jeff McNeil, Chris.
Nice and high, 35-degree launch angle. That means it was a high, majestic 399-foot shot.
Like one of your 9-irons.
About like that, yeah.
But it stayed fair.
Well, you would have to get technical.
Always good with the irons, right?
The short ones.
One ball, 2 strikes to Flores. Wilmer singled in a run in the first on a single to right. Led off the third with a base hit, and then singled in the Mets' 5th run on a base hit to left in the 4th. May allowed a hit, but no runs in the 5th, and a homer here in the 6th. Just missing inside. There's ball 4, and
I think that may have hit him.
Did it hit him?
I think was it a 2-2 count or a 3-2 count there?
It did clip him. Take a look.
It was 2-2, and I think it just grazed his uniform.
So he's on for the 4th time tonight. 3 singles and a hit batsman, and here comes Conforto. Struck out, singled, and bounced into a fielder's choice. Broken bat, slice to left. It's going to drop for a hit. So Conforto picks up his 2nd hit. He's now 2 for 4. And that'll put 2 runners on with 2 outs here in the 6th. The All-Star game in number 21. Memories for Frazier and for Reds fans. Todd singled in a run in the 1st and then flied to center his last 2 times up.
Hey, you know, just looking, George, to see when the last time the Mets had a blowout win. We're not quite the blowout level yet, but I mean, it's awfully close here. If you don't call 8-0 or 6-0 that, it gets that way with a couple of runs coming in here. You know, they had a blowout loss when they lost 25-4 last week against the Washington Nationals.
And Jose Reyes wound up pitching in the 9th inning in that one.
You know, the Reds come in here, man. You know, the Mets they've lost 5 in the last 6, 8 and 10 in their last 18, 10 and 25 in their last 35 home games. So you look at that 2 ways. They're struggling, we can take advantage of them, or they're struggling and they're due. And it looks like they were due tonight, had a lot of balls that have fallen in for them.
Well, early on, I mean, the Reds really own the Mets here, but of late, the Reds have lost 24 of the last 31 against the Mets, including a stretch of 14 straight. Jim Riggleman trying to find a way to turn that around in this 3-game series. Nicky Callaway with Gary DiSarcina, his bench coach. There's pretty much a new staff. Callaway signed a 3-year deal, and there have been some rumors that he might not be brought back, but the indications of late are that he definitely will be back next year. Mickey, of course, the former pitching coach with Tito Francona in Cleveland from 2013 to 2017. Gary DeSarcina, veteran major leaguer and coach. Dave Island, the former Yankee pitching coach and Kansas City pitching coach, now the pitching coach here. Pat Rossler's elevated from the assistant hitting coach to the hitting coach here. Off the end of the bat, Billy's got it measured. Mets will strand a pair, but they get another on the home run by Jeff McNeil. 6-0 New York.
All the time, 6-0 as Noah Syndergaard continues to work on his shutout as the Reds go to the top of the 7th inning, and he's had a very effective changeup tonight. And we're going to show you 3 times where he got an out from the changeup against a left-hander right there. Gets a weak ground ball, a perfect pitch location-wise, unless you ask Suarez, and a swing and a miss by Joey Votto. Overall, the count for his changeup up a little bit as far as usage goes. Is what he normally throws. He's thrown it 13 times tonight, 3 outs with it, 9 strikes. And that's about 15% of the time, which is a little bit of an uptick for him. And when it's working, why not?
Tucker Barnhart dribbles one down to second. There's your first out of the 7th inning. Barnhart 0 for 3, a fly ball and 2 ground ball outs. 6 runs, 14 hits, no errors for the Mets. No runs, only 4 hits. That's what the Reds have managed against Syndergaard. That's about what you usually get when the Reds face this guy. In his career, 3-0, a 1.98 earned run average against Cincinnati coming into tonight, and that's going to go down if it stays where it is.
His location tonight has been superb. So you combine great stuff with good location. Look at it right on the knees right there. Didn't get the call, but he stayed away from the middle of the zone.
There's Preston Tucker, hard single to center his first time up, flied out his second time up. Show and bunt as they overshift on him. Did it hit him? It
didn't it?
No indication from Kerwin Danley, and now he does indicate. So down to first goes Tucker.
Yeah, you don't normally think to put one of those little pads on your back foot.
Right off the inside part of the foot, and he's still gimping around on that. Here's Phillip Erwin to pinch hit for Kerry Maori. Phillip Steps in overall at 308, a homer and 12 knocked in. Curry-Maya came in the 5th, allowed a base hit, in the 6th allowed the homer, so 1 run and 2 innings of work. Big swing, and it's 0-2. I don't know how that didn't hit him. It did. Looked like right under the left arm. So back-to-back hits by a pitcher. And the Reds have 2 on. And that'll bring up Billy. And that'll bring out Dave Island, the pitching coach. Island, veteran pitching coach, came up in the Yankee organization, pitched for the Yankees in the late 80s and early 90s.
Well, not only that, George, he pitched for the University of South Florida.
That's it.
He was a Golden Brahmin back in the days before they changed their name to the Bulls. He was the 2nd or 3rd pitcher from that school to make the major leagues.
And who might be the best?
I don't know, I have to look that one up.
And he, of course, was a pitching coach with one of our most favorite guys, Dave Miley.
Yeah.
They were down at the Yankees AAA for a number of years together. Island and Miley did a tremendous job with the Yankee farmhand. And Miles, if you're watching, you and Pooh, we want to say hi to you. We miss you.
Indeed we do. Doing things. Well, Tomas Vera went out there to talk to Preston Tucker about that foot injury. Keeps, as you said, gimping around out there on it, and they wanted to make sure that he didn't have some injury that may cause him to leave the ball game. Something really serious like.
A lot of small bones, top of the hand, top of the foot, and look, the opportunity he's got coming over here with the injuries the Reds have. And he's hoping he's okay. He wants to be in that lineup. Here's Billy. Grounded out, flied out, 0 for 2. That's a base hit. Rounding third, and it's kicked by the left fielder Nimmo, but already stopping was Tucker, and he doesn't look like he's running at all near 100%. I mean, he was not running real hard coming to the bag, and he's still. Billy saw that, held him up, and then the ball was booted by Nimmo, but he never did. Now watch, he'll slow
he's
up
limping
here
already,
Yep.
and you're down by 6 runs. So the fact that he stays there at third base after the bobble in the outfield is really no big deal.
But it tells you that there's something going on with that foot.
It's sending waves of pain to his brain. That's what's going on.
A big ouch. So they're loaded with 1 out, and here's Jose Peraza. Peraza coming into tonight had more success than anybody else in the Reds lineup against Syndergaard. He was 2 for 3. But tonight, a weak fly ball to left, 2 hopper to short, and a strikeout 0 for 3. And a rare strikeout for Peraza. He's #1 in Major League Baseball with the fewest number of strikeouts per plate appearances. That's a bloop into center. It will drop for a base hit. A run will score, and the Reds are on the board. Good job by Peraza. And you wouldn't be surprised to see Tucker exit this game after he gimps to the dugout.
Yeah, it was one of those tweener jobs for Austin Jackson in center field. He was probably caught between maybe coming in trying to make a dive to grab that ball on a fly, or field it as a 1 hopper and then come in and throw, maybe get the runner at second base. So the single falls in. The Reds pick up their 6th hit first run, and Noah Syndergaard will leave after pitching 6 1/3.
Standing ovation for Syndergaard. We'll be back after these messages. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. As Tucker exits, he's heading down with Tomas Vera. At the ballpark this Friday. Cheer on your Redlegs when they take on the Diamondbacks. Plus, stick around after the game for the best fireworks show in baseball, presented by Great American Insurance Group. For tickets, visit Reds.com. So Noah Syndergaard's night is done. 6 1/3, 6 hits, 1 run. The runner's on his responsibility. 6 strikeouts and a walk. And here's a guy who's been pretty efficient for the Mets out of the bullpen, Bobby Wall.
Really a miracle that he's on the mound right now. Wall, he was traded over here right before the trade deadline this year in a deal with the Oakland Athletics that sent Jeurys Familia, their closer, over to Oakland to boost the A's bullpen. Wall is a guy that did his college work at Ole Miss, had some really great amateur credentials, but he also, a guy was injured last year, and he had surgery, the same surgery that Matt Harvey had a few years back, thoracic outlet syndrome surgery. And for him to be back, I mean, it happened last July, I think, is when he had it, July or August. For him to come back and be able to pitch this soon, it's really quite an accomplishment.
2 balls, no strikes to Votto. That's up and out of the strike zone at 93, 3-0. Joey tonight got his first 2 hits ever against Syndergaard. He came in 0 for 11, 2 for 3, 2 base hits and a walk, and a strikeout rather. Bases loaded for Votto. Reds trail at 6-1, and that's a strike. I mean, Wall in the minors this year had 73 strikeouts in 45 minor league innings, and that's just not a blip on the radar screen. In his career, 292 strikeouts in 220 innings, so better than a strikeout an inning in the minors. 3-1 to Votto. All 3 runners lead off. And we'll go full 3-2. Cranking it up to 95 is the Mets right-hander. Well, you talk about teams that are going for it. You mentioned that trade with Oakland, Chris. They get Jeurys Familia. Oakland has really turned things around. The Red Sox are in another galaxy, but other than the Red Sox, they've been the hottest team in the American League.
Now they won 6 in a row, and they're only 4 games back behind Houston, who has only lost 1 in a row. But they've got, their injuries are beginning to pile up a little bit for the Astros.
And it wasn't long ago that everyone took it for granted that it would be the Red Sox and the Yankees battling for the American League East, and the loser would be a shoe-in for the wild card. Now it's a little bit of a different story. The Yankees wild card lead is down to 5 and 6 games against the 2nd and 3rd place teams behind them. after that 4-game sweep up in Boston. Full count, 3-2 to Votto. Joey hangs in, spoils another pretty good pitch at 96. The base hit here, and the Reds could make it interesting as we head into the final 3 innings of this one. Wall to the stretch, runners lead off. That's ball 4, and that'll force in a run. So the Reds get their 2nd run on the walk to Votto. As Joey continues his streak against the Mets. Votto in his career now 23 games in a row with either a base hit or a walk against the Mets. And Callaway, after bringing in his right-hander, now seeing that lead dwindle to 4 as Scooter comes to the plate. Mets in their bullpen this year, their losses 25 more than anybody else in the National League. Their bullpen difficulties have been numerous from the start of the season on. Here's Scooter. Scooter tonight bounced into a fielder's choice, walked and singled. Interesting, before the game today, one of Jim Riggleman's former friends came into the clubhouse, and here's Wall to the stretch with the bases loaded.
If he was a former friend, why'd you let him in?
In the dirt, good block by Plawecki. But he said, you know, how do you like your club? Who's your leader? And he ticked down the list. He said, you know, different guys give us something different. Scooter Gennett always gives us energy. Hey, Eugenio Suarez always is there to help, especially the Spanish-speaking players. He's become a leader on our club. Joey Votto leads by the way he plays every day, and he goes down the list. That's the kind of club that he has. There is not one leader on this ball club. It's different guys chipping in different ways. 1 ball, 1 strike. Swings at a pitch out of the strike zone, and it's 1-2.
Well, you know, some would say then you're missing something, because you need to have not just the guy that chips in and does this and chips in and does that. You have to have the guy to kind of coordinate all that, and someone who's not afraid to get in another player's face when they don't make a good play or they don't hustle. And right now, that's not coming from the players. That's coming from the management and the coaches.
Unfortunately, it's the status of the game today. Very few teams have that. 1 ball, 2 strikes in the dirt. Another good block by Plawecki that saved a run.
Well, Bobby Wall is just trying to snap off that breaking ball just so hard to make it completely unhittable for Gennett.
On the old days at Shea Stadium, you would say that definitely saved a run, but here, this is one of the shortest ballpark areas from home plate to the backstop. So a ball that gets by the catcher doesn't necessarily mean a run's going to score.
Except with Billy Hamilton at third.
With him there, you know he's going to be running. 2 balls, 2 strikes. He's wide again, and it's 3-2. Now it becomes interesting for the Reds. Action in both bullpens here in the 7th. 2 hit batsmen, 2 singles. The Reds have a run and the bases are loaded. 3-2. Out of the strike zone, Scooter swings and misses, and there's your 2nd out of the inning. Tantalizing pitch at the top end of the strike zone. Suter a swing and a miss, and more often than not he's delivered for the Reds this year, but not this time.
So they're going to take Wall out of the ball game. There's Mickey Callaway going to the home plate umpire Kerwin Danley to explain to him what the double switch is going to be. So you leave the right-hander in to face a left-handed hitting Gennett, but you don't leave him in to face Suarez. Interesting.
Frazier made the last out of last inning, so he will exit. And while the pitching change takes place, we'll take time out for these messages. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. Co-ed teams of 6 are welcome to compete for a great cause. Register today at BGCGC. That's bgcgc.org/events. You majored in that when you were at South Florida, didn't you?
Yes.
Sand volleyball?
Of course. There was a class, I think, for that. Robert Gesellman is the new pitcher, right-hander. He was a starter last year, started 22 ball games. Every appearance he's had this year, and this is game number 50 for him, has been out of the bullpen.
And now with that trade of Familia, he's become more often than not the closer, facing Eugenio Suarez. 6 saves. He had only 1 in his career prior to this year, and that was in the minor leagues back in 2011.
So here's Mickey Callaway bringing in really one of his best bullpen weapons in a high leverage situation in the 7th inning.
That's a
that didn't work out.
In the left. It is a base hit. 1 run scores. The second run coming around, and the Reds have closed the gap. It's now 6-4. Good job by Suarez. Eugenio 0 for 3 coming to the plate here in the 7th, but he delivers with this base hit.
Little jam shot. We've seen it happen. Gets his hands in just enough of the barrel on the ball. Really the trademark. To drop it in there just beyond us. Shortstop reaching for it. Rosario can't get it. 2 come around. Here comes Peraza. Well, could this be one of those classic come from behind games the Reds pull out of nowhere tonight?
They could use it after the trip to Washington. Peraza scampers around third and scores, and here's the 9th batter of the inning, Mason Williams. 0 for 3, a strikeout, but then 2 line drives to center. He hit the ball hard twice against Syndergaard. You figure Gesellman's in for a couple of innings. He has 4 of his 6 saves have been more than an inning and a third. So Callaway has used him for as many as 2+ innings. So the roll of the dice by Callaway here in the 7th. 1 ball, 1 strike to Mason. Runners at first and second. Fouled off. And it's 1-2. If you followed Mason Williams through his career, everything you see about him on a nightly basis you like. I mean, he's a good defensive outfielder. He throws well. He runs well. He has some power. Could this be a time when it all comes together in a Reds uniform? 1 ball, 2 strikes. Hit hard, but foul off the front of the dugout on the Mets side.
Well, right now, somewhere in that dugout, Noah Syndergaard's got to be wondering what the heck happened here. He was just mowing the Reds down through 6 innings. He had the bottom of the lineup up 1 out in this inning, and then he goes ahead and hits with a couple of wild pitches. Tucker and then Phillip Ervin, and then a little base hit by Hamilton, base hit by Peraza. Votto walks to drive in a run.
Hanging in there is Williams. Tough pitch on the inner part of the plate in 91.
And he's gotten saddled with all four runs in this inning, Syndergaard. So you go from pitching what looks like is going to be a gem to a not even a quality start.
Peraza was the last batter he faced, the 4th run that plated for the Reds here, and all 4 charged to Syndergaard's ledger. The runner at second, Votto, is the responsibility of Wall. Gazelle into the stretch. The runners lead off. High fly ball down the right field line. It'll be out of play in the seats. Todd Frazier taken out of the game on the double switch after making the last out of last inning. All he can do is be a cheerleader here. Ball out of the strike zone, but somehow Williams gets the bat on it.
I mean, look at Frazier down there. We just showed you a shot of him standing right at the railing of the Mets dugout. He is the only player up at that railing. Everybody else is sitting back and just kind of enjoying the show.
Well, you never worry about him doing the right thing, whether he's in the lineup or not.
That gives me a little insight right there.
Yep. To him and to the rest of that club. 1-2. Hanging in there is Mason Williams.
Reds are up there in force.
I guess you'd say the best cheerleader they have right now is Romano. I mean, Sal, he's electric on the bench, isn't he?
Usually, I'd have to defer to Jim Day for that question. He spent so much time down there in that camera well.
Another good effort by Mason Williams to foul it off. JD, the #1 cheerleader.
Oh, I don't know about #1, George. He is getting there. You know, younger guys are sort of more on the quiet side and kind of grow into that role. But #1, I'd have to think about that. It's usually Scooter Jeanette.
Oh, I mean, if a guy that's not playing,
oh,
a guy that's a
gotcha.
bench guy, that's usually the first guy out there.
Yeah, I think he's definitely up there, George. And he's one of those guys at home run celebrations. He's usually at the end of the line to do something crazy.
So look out, right?
Yeah.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Great at bat from Mason Williams. And did he get a piece of it? No, he didn't. Not fouled off, swing and a miss, and the batter retired, but the Reds rally. They made it a ball game. It's 6-4. 2 runs batted in for Eugenio.
Yankees. Check out Adam Engel. Ball hit by Greg Bird. He will go up and rob Bird of a home run. A beautiful catch, but Yankees 4-0 lead in the 6th over the Sox.
Now Phillip Ervin will stay in the game. He's in left field. Tucker exits. And if we get anything further on the situation with his foot, we'll pass it on to you. And here comes Jared Hughes. Talk about guys who have really helped solidify this Reds bullpen. Boy, the 2 acquisitions, Hernandez and Hughes, Chris, really changed the demeanor of this bullpen.
It really has. You know, it's a great way of putting that, George, to change, because it needed an attitude change. They were so bad for the last few years. It was always the Achilles tendon of this ball club. And really, improving the bullpen is not that big of a challenge if you're a front office person, but you have to be able to spend a little bit of money. And what the Reds did last year is they decided to spend some money, realizing it's important to bring some veterans in here. So they gave a two-year contract to Hernandez. They gave a 2-year contract to Jared Hughes. And well, these guys have just blossomed, and I think that they've helped the bullpen, you know, in a lot of different ways.
I mean, you look at the big deals teams make, and at the end of the year you can add them up and say, boy, that was a great deal. And for the Reds, I think there's no doubt about it, one of the best deals that Dick Williams did this offseason was solidify that bullpen, bringing Hernandez and bringing Hughes in for a lot of reasons. The numbers tell part of the story, Chris, but you know, you've been in bullpens, and so often trouble on a ball club starts in a bullpen. When guys sit out there all day long and nitpick about this went wrong or that went wrong, and then it becomes even more than that. Those are 2 guys that are positive in the bullpen, especially Hughes, who's a leader among those young guys.
I think you want to have guys that want the ball, and I think it was a very good move by, you know, the Reds front office to sign both these guys. And I think in the case of Hughes, he's very undervalued around baseball nowadays because he doesn't throw hard. So he's the kind of pitcher, in my mind anyway, that you have to have eyeballs on to appreciate how good he can pitch. Because sometimes a reliever can fool you with numbers. You know, you have a couple of bad outings and it blows up some of your overall numbers, like your earned run average. But even if you start evaluating him with, you know, velocity and backspin and movement and so on, until you see him pitch and see his sinker work,
Scooter flags it down and makes the play. Outstanding play by Scooter Jeanette. Robs Brandon Nimmo of a base hit.
We've seen Scooter now go to his right, make an extremely good play. Next time he goes to his left. Little spin move and comes up. You know, when you're an infielder playing behind Jared Hughes, every pitch you're thinking, this one's coming to me.
Which is one of the big changes from last year. I mean, last year when the Reds used 16 different starters, this year they've used half as many. And there's a liner. This one, nobody will get that. That's a rocket into right, a base hit. And Austin Jackson has his 3rd hit. He's 3 for 4. But it keeps you on your toes, and that's exactly what Hughes has done for his defense. So 1 out, 1 on. And here's Plawecki, who homered back in the 4th. And bounced into an inning-ending double play in the 5th, 1 for 3. I mean, you look at the years in the 26 years that you and I have been doing games together. The Reds have had some great leaders in their bullpen. I mean, you can go back, starting with the Nasty Boys. They were certainly outstanding. You know, Dibble, Myers, Charlton. How about Franco? Johnny Franco was here before the game, another guy who was a leader. But then you got the Scott Sullivans, the Jeff Shaws, the Danny Graves, the Jeff Brantleys. You know, go down the list one after another, who weren't just performers in the bullpen, but they were leaders in their bullpen. Jackson big lead, but heads back to first on the throw down by Tucker. His eyes peering down at Jackson is still a pretty big lead. down to short. They'll get one at second. The throw to first. Backhanded by Votto, and they get him. Good job by Joey to keep his foot on the bag. 3 good plays. Peraza, Scooter, and Votto, and the double play ends the inning. That we fill you in on when it's all said and done. Right now, 6 runs, 15 hits for the Mets. Homer Bailey exited early if you joined us late. Homer went 3 1/3, 11 hits, 5 runs. Peralta, Mejia, Hughes after him. For the Reds, here's Barnhart. Fly ball, left center. Jackson back at the wall. He'll haul it in.
Boy, he really gets a good jump on the ball. We've got a great perspective where we're sitting, and every ball that he's had to go into that left center field gap, I mean, he's made look like a very easy play. Watch him move on this.
Well, that's one of the things that they wanted, was someone with Lagares back on the disabled list and no true center field. Nimmo had played there, and you look at Jackson checking his card, which shows where they want him to play with each hitter. And here's Dilson Herrera, who will pinch hit.
I mean, just think for a minute. That ball falls in. You're in a 2-run ball game. You got nobody out. You have a runner at second base in scoring position, and the tying runner is at, or tying batter is at the plate. That's how important defense, especially when you've got a Range Rover like that in center field. Of course, the Reds know that with Billy Hamilton.
So 1 out, nobody on, and here's Dilson, a former New York Met. A swing and a miss, and a quick 1-2-3 at bat for Dilson Herrera.
Probably a little bit anxious in this at bat right here, trying to do a little too much, and they know the book on him, got him to chase a breaking ball.
So Herrera retired, 2 away, and here comes Phillip Ervin hitting in the 8th spot. Phillip pops this one into right. Under it is Nimmo. Boy, what an easy inning. The Reds made it easy. 1, 2, 3 in the 8th. They trail 6-4. game summary, the Mets and the Reds. In the first inning for the Mets, Todd Frazier bangs a base hit into right. That's part of 5 hits and 3 runs for the Mets. They lead it 3-0 after 1. And the red-hot second baseman for the Mets, Jeff McNeil, homers in the 6th inning. That made it 6-0, and the Mets behind Noah Syndergaard were rolling, but the Reds battle back. Syndergaard hit a couple of batters, and the Reds came up with big hits in the 7th. By the time it's all over, Peraza scores the Reds' first run. Eugenio Suarez bloops one into left, and the Reds are within 2. It's a 6-4 ball game. The Reds' offense 4 in the 7th told the story there. A bouncer to the second baseman, and yes, they get him. It got past Votto. Suarez, rather Scooter, got it deep in right field, and they're waiting to see if they're going to challenge, and they probably will. Take another look.
Well, the difference, I think, there is the first baseman is the pitcher covering. And he doesn't get himself really set because he's still on the move down there. It was a very athletic play by Iglesias. In fact, I wonder if he got clipped by the runner going down the line right there.
Looked like he got the outside of his right foot, and they're checking him right now. He's retying his shoe. Looks like the foot is on the bag and the ball is in the glove.
Well, his foot is right in the middle of the bag.
Yep.
Well, you know,
they'll call him safe.
Yeah, we've seen replays so much, George. It really, basically, all the fans, either at the ballpark or at home, they just want to see the call made and get the correct call. But for an umpire, and in this case, it's Ben May, for the second time tonight, he's had a call at first base overturned. There's a spike mark on the shoe right there, and they're going to go out and talk to him. Tomas Vera out there, the home plate umpire Kervin Danley out there.
Reds have already lost 1 player tonight.
But my point is, if you're an umpire, well, when you have your call, first of all, go up for official replay review, it's not a good thing. And then when it's overturned, it's even worse. And I've talked to a lot of the umpires, as you do as well. You know, they feel like it's a public spanking. And it's just one of those things where, you know, replay now gets the right down to the fraction.
So Iglesias on here in the 8th to try to keep it right where it is. Top of the order, Rosario, good bunter, and that'll force the third baseman Eugenio Suarez to come in tight to the bag.
That movement right there by his right arm is directed directly to Joey Votto. After he got spiked, he's looking at Votto saying, why am I covering first base on that ball that you didn't get when you should have been over here? And that's one of those tough areas to figure out, because when you have a semi shift on and you're playing your first baseman way off the bag, and so often now that they are way off the bag, first basemen oftentimes get out of play. And there's Votto, and actually he didn't even have a chance to get to that ball. He fell down. I think after he fell down, there's no way he's going to get the first anyway. But you know, I don't think it's only relevant to the Reds and Joey Votto. I think a lot of first basemen find themselves so far off the bag, they get themselves out of position.
I tell you, Chris, after watching Joey tonight, I mean, he's not going to say anything. He never does, but I think he's still feeling the effects of that hit by pitch in Washington. He hadn't been running well, and he did not move well off the bag on a couple of ground balls. 2 balls, 1 strike to Rosario, the shortstop, with the runner still down at first. Shows the bunt. Is he in the box? Yes, he's still in the box. It's a foul ball. He hit his bat twice, but he was still in the batter's box. So it just goes as a strike. It's 2-2.
You've been reading up on the rules, George Grant. So that's what you've been doing since we've seen you last.
That and fishing and clamming and Playing with the kids at the beach. I won't tell you what order.
I gave you perfect opportunity for a shameless plug.
I do read every one of your emails. You're having fun doing that, and you've done a great job with it.
I'm learning. You were the first one that got me to go down and visit the umpires.
It's been fun.
You were right about that. They always have the best food down there in their
You're right.
clubhouse.
That's why we went. Swing and a miss. Good job by Iglesias to battle back.
Boy, is that key right there. You send up a leadoff hitter and a position player to lay down a bunt to get one extra runner into scoring position. And he's unable to do that, and it ends up being a strikeout victory. That's a long walk back to that dugout.
Well, here's Jeff McNeil. Boy, he's been a star again tonight. 3 hits, 2 singles, and a homer. His second homer. He's hit in 6 of the 9 games he's played in since coming up from AAA. Inside out swing, skied to the left side and out of play. Into the crowd of 21,644 at Citi Field here tonight. Another night game tomorrow. Sal Romano will go for his 7th win against Jason Vargas, who'll go for his 3rd win. Reds live at 6:30. The game will follow at 7. And a day game on Wednesday. Show and bunt. Iglesias has it. They'll get the out at first, and there's 2 away.
They'll probably give him a sacrifice, but that was bunt for a base hit all the way. Shading him around to the right side. Nobody, if he can get that ball anywhere down the third baseline, it's an easy base hit.
So 2 away, and here comes Flores. Wilmer been on base 4 times, 3 singles, 2 runs batted in, and hit by a pitch. An insurance run in a 6-4 ball game is out at second. That gets away from Barnhart, but he scampers and stops the runner from going. Great effort by Barnhart. That looked like it was heading to the backstop.
Step up to GMC with 17% below MSRP on terrain Denali when you finance through GM Financial.
1 ball to Flores with Conforto on deck. Hop back and out of play. Wilmer in the first inning with 2 runners on, runners at first and third, single to right to make it 1-0. He singled a lead off the third, was left stranded. In the fourth, with another runner at third, he singled to make it 5-0 on a 2-2 pitch, and then hit by a pitch in the 6th. With the runner at second, Barnhart goes through the signs twice. Perfect spot in for a strike, 1-2. Three hits by Flores has gotten his average up to 280. Hopped up right side. Mason Williams there. He'll glove it, and that'll do it. Good job by Iglesias after the leadoff infield hit. And the Reds rally going to the ninth. Billy goes to the bat rack. Cincinnati Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio has been brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by Toyota. For over 30 offers, visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. And don't forget, as part of the Ohio Lottery postgame concert series, chart-topping singer Jake Owen will be performing all his country hits in a live concert from the field this Saturday. Everyone with a ticket to the Reds game will have the chance to enjoy the show from one of country music's hottest acts. Purchase your tickets now at reds.com. That's Saturday night. Now the lone lefty in this bullpen, Jerry Blevins, will come in and try to close it down in the 9th inning. Billy Hamilton will lead it off. Blevins and Gesellman each have had chances to save.
Blevins does not have a save this year. He's got 5 in his major league career, and that spans 8 different seasons. You really have to admire in one way the way that Mickey Callaway handled the bullpen tonight. He realized back in the 7th inning that the highest leverage and the most crucial part of the ball game was when the Reds had bases loaded and they were mounting the threat. You know, getting Syndergaard out of the ball game. That's been the only frame in which the Reds have scored a run, and he brought his hammer out in the 7th inning. And now you're going to try to close the game out with somebody who's not used to pitching the 9th.
Hey, Chris, you know, with a lefty up, and I see this so often with Billy. You can pull the third baseman in, but if he drops even a lousy bunt to the right side with a lefty falling off the mound to the third base side where the second baseman is, he'd never be able to get over there, and the first baseman couldn't get the ball and cover first either. I mean, it's a gift base hit right there.
Well,
now with 2 strikes, not even a question.
That was a Norris Hopper idea.
Yep. Full count, 3-2 to Billy. Hamilton grounded out, fly ball to center to the warning track, and a base hit. This one blooped back and out of play. Reds trying to rally here in the 9th. 6 runs, 16 hits for the Mets. 4 runs, 7 hits for the Reds. All 4 of the Reds' runs came in the 7th. Noah Syndergaard went 6 1/3, allowed 6 hits. He had allowed 1 run when he left, but the bullpen allowed 3 to score, so he was charged with 4 runs. Oh, he just got a piece to stay alive. You talk so often about his importance to this Reds offense in a game like this. Get Billy on, and the whole inning takes on a whole different look with Votto up next, then Scooter, then Suarez. Jim Riggleman hoping for a 9th inning rally for his club here in New York. Popped up in the infield. Who's going to take charge? Blevins wanted it. Everybody called him off. You've been in that moment, Chris.
Well, he had a move to get out of the way of that ball. But as far as priority of being able to call for a fly ball in the infield, the pitcher is dead last. In fact, I think the bat boy gets a shot before the pitcher does.
1 out. Reds down to their final 2. Here's Peraza 0 for 3, and then in the 7th he singled to get the Reds run in. So 1 for 4 and a run batted in. Breaking ball drops in there for a strike. 7 right-handers and 1 left-hander in this Mets bullpen tonight. Hit hard, but just fouled down the third base line. Great to have you with us tonight. George Grant, Chris Welsh, Jim Day. Back in our studios. Jeff Pecoro, Brian Giesenslaw with Kent Dreamweaver, Ron Millenor, and the crew will be with you for Reds Live postgame. And been great to have our crew here. Josh Hall, our producer. Ryan Filippetti, our director. Matt Sigafus dialing up some of those highlights for you tonight. Lauren White with some graphic support as the Reds try to rally here in inning number 9 in New York. Tantalizing breaking ball. Talk about variation of velocity. 73 miles an hour, just misses, and it's 2-2. Joey's on deck, Scooter to follow. Another pop-up. This one behind second base. McNeil there, and there's 2 away. So it keeps the potential tying run still off the bases as Votto comes to the plate. Joey tonight, single to left, single to center against Syndergaard, his first 2 hits ever against Noah. Struck out in the 6th and walked in the 7th. That loaded the bases. Against Blevins in his career, Votto's 3 for 8. And Scooter will follow in the on deck circle. Big breaking ball drops in there for a strike.
You know, the way Votto reacted to that, it almost leads me to believe that that's a setup. Saying, you fooled me so bad, but now I'm waiting for it. And Blevins didn't buy it. He comes in with a fastball.
And the Mets faithful on their feet, those that remain here at Citi Field. Reds down to their final strike. Dribbler to the right side. Flores has it, and that'll do it. So the Reds rally from a 6-run deficit to pull within 2. But final story of this night, Jeff McNeil. What a night he had. He's our Miller moment. McNeil on the night. 2 singles and a homer. And for Jeff McNeil, a swing that was a sweet one for him off Kaori Maya. A homer, his 2nd of the season, and that gave the Mets a 6-0 lead. They hold on for a 6-4 victory, just like we promised you. Our Miller Lite Hold True moment of the night, Jeff McNeil. We'll be back with more from Citi Field after these messages.